From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you. 6 minutes past the hour. Thanks for waking up early in the morning. This, out of everything, now a lot of great things happened this weekend. We'll get to all of it, including Tony Orlando, the finale, and that just was surreal. That was one huge star after another appearing, performing, in person live, whether it was Lee Greenwood, or Priscilla Presley, or the Jumbotron with Lionel Richie and Marie Osmond, and I could go on and on and on. If you check the article that we wrote this weekend, you can catch up ahead of any comments that I make about it. But out of everything that happened this weekend, besides that was the highlight of the weekend. But besides that, Kamala Harris does it again. She is Norm Crosby, the king of the malaprop. Everything she does is a joke. So she's in Puerto Rico, and they're singing this song. It turns out that it was a protest song that they were singing. She's clapping and smiling, her usual crazy look, crazy Kamala. And this song, they were singing that Kamala Harris is a war criminal. And then they were saying that the USA and Israel are genocidal. And she's clapping along. Hey, this is fantastic. Look at me. And an aide came over to her and told her, hey, they're chanting that you're a war criminal, and the United States and Israel are genocidal. So, post haste, they got out of there. But they stopped in this courtyard. They're in a community center. They see this 6-person group of musicians playing, and it's all caught on video. They'll probably never show it to you. But the pool cameras captured Harris clapping her hands, smiling, nodding along. Woo, woo. This is great. And then the aide translates what the band was saying. This is so funny. So funny. Every single time she speaks or does something, it turns out like this. And they had signs, Kamala Harris, war criminal. I'm looking at one of them right now. And I think the only thing that's just wrong is they don't have to exploit it, but the national media should cover it. I may be the first person to tell you this. And believe me, if Trump is clapping, and they were singing Trump's a dictator and Trump's a war criminal and all these things, the media would jump all over that. Chuck Todd did something over the weekend. I'd like to share with you. We talk about how things change, and obviously we were traveling, so we missed you for a few days, end of last week, and then the weekend. We talk about how many things happen just in the couple of days that we part and return on Monday mornings. Chuck Todd, if I am the boss, Chuck Todd would have been fired. Matter of fact, I would have hauled him off of the show. Let the cameras and the American people, let the cameras roll and let the American people see that. They think they have this right. It was that Stelter did something similar, or they got rid of him. But Chuck Todd, who they fired from Meet the Press, I thought he did something very, very messed up when he says to Kirsten Welker how he feels bad for her. Oh, you feel bad for her? Why? Because you got fired and she got your job? But Chuck Todd criticized the NBC bosses for hiring Ronna Romney McDaniel. Now, I wouldn't have hired her. I thought she was terrible, and I told you that. And it's a typical type hiring, though. And now it's weird, though, because they're kind of acting like she won't be on air. I mean, they announced it, that she was hired. I thought it was a terrible hire. But guess what? When you work for a company, look, I understand you're going to do news, and you may disagree with your bosses. I've disagreed in my career with different things. You never hear me. I will never go public with that on their airwaves. Look, if you have a disagreement, you should address that behind the scenes. But you don't come on air and criticize your bosses for hiring someone. That's just not something that a subordinate should ever do. So by definition, I clearly think it's insubordination, and they should have terminated him. But they didn't. We'll see what happens over time. His role has already been diminished. See if it's diminished anymore. And then he goes, I got, they did this because I had the courage to say this and that. Here's the real truth. Even someone like Ronna McDaniel, these Democrats, they don't want any true Republican views. They want people like Joe Scarborough, Nicole Wallace, Liz Cheney, idiots like that, Adam Kinzinger, Chuck Todd. Good thing I wasn't your boss. Your ass would have been fired. Should have been fired. Should have been fired. Now, they tape that, so it's not like it's live and you can just haul them off. They tape it. They should have never let it air because somebody knew that he'd said all that before they aired it. That none of that should have aired, and he should have been terminated on the spot with cause. Insubordination, see you later. You got to go. When we come back from the break, it is allegedly today the deadline. This is something we talked about last week. Today's the deadline for President Trump to secure a $454 million bond, or Letitia James. She's already started. It's amazing. Even before waiting to see if someone will post the bond, she's already started. She wants to seize bank accounts and brokerage accounts, and what's she going to start taking the rent payments at Trump Tower? Effective immediately, she's going to post a sign. Send your rent payments to me, Letitia. I will take your rent payments. I'll tell you what, I don't know exactly how it's going to end for her, but just like Fani Willis, I don't think it's going to end very well for Letitia James. She reminds me like some of the people out of the Baltimore area when they were falsely charging cops and doing some hideous things, and it all went bad for them. Well, there's an expression that a friend of mine has. It's not grammatically correct, but it goes something like, God don't like ugly. Their behavior is so abominable that I always believe this. You don't have to. It's like Marty Small in Atlantic City. You don't have to do anything. I'm telling you how that's going to end. I know how it's going to end. And you don't have to do anything. People like that take care of all of it. The best thing you can do It's not to say you're free to say whatever you want to say. I do. If it's good, I wrote something last week that Marty Small was helpful for the Atlantic City Air Show. I gave him credit for that. It really was Governor Murphy, and I didn't even have to mention Marty Small, but I did. Because I had been told by somebody that I trust that Marty was helpful. So I said that. But if he's doing bad stuff, I say that. And I don't do that. That gives you credibility if you do the right thing. You don't have to force something, like say something nice, because, oh my God, I've written like 10 straight things or said 10 straight bad things. Let me write something good. That was an opportunity. Somebody that I believed in told me that he helped. And I thought, you know what? Let me write that he was helpful. This phone never stops. Never stops. Make it stop. It won't stop. I had to silence that. Somebody's trying to call me. Call me when I'm on the air. I'll help you when I can, but not when I'm on the air. 17 minutes past the hour. When we come back, I'll share with you some thoughts about this bond and everything that's been going on. Remind you something that Letitia James said. You know, she is, in my view, an unsavory character. She really is. And I'll share with you why when we come back. Don't go away. This is the Hurley in the Morning program.
In a world full of fake news, AI, and unverified information on social media, where can you get the latest, most accurate South Jersey news? WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. Don't wait for the newspaper to come in the mail. The WPG Talk Radio app is updated around the clock from New Jersey's largest radio news team. Accurate, dependable, reliable. When you need to know, it's WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Fox News commentary.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams was set to visit the southern border and parts of Mexico, but his office has since canceled that trip. I'm Tommy Lahren. I'll tell you why next.
This is Scott Trout of Cordell & Cordell. There are a lot of great dads out there. Sometimes those dads get divorced. For more than 30 years, we have represented men in divorce, confronting the pitfalls that could devastate your finances or harm your family relationships. While every situation is different, our goal is to get the best outcome for you and your kids. Set up a consultation and take the first step.
Offices in Philadelphia, Radnor, and Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Scott Trout, licensed in Missouri, Illinois, and Georgia only. Michelle Ferrari, licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Online at CordellCordell.com.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced on his radio show that he would make another trip to the southern border to survey the situation and meet with partners in Mexico. Given our borders are, Kamala Harris refuses to return and address the issue at all. I would give Mayor Adams some credit, but it turns out he has canceled his trip due to safety concerns in the region of Mexico he was set to visit. That's really rich, Mayor Adams. These safety concerns are too great for the mayor with a full security team to make that journey? Hello, it's too dangerous to go to the border, but the border is coming to America every single day, into his city, into your city, into every nook and cranny they come. Hint, hint. If the southern border is too dangerous for elected leaders to visit, then sending undocumented folks up the southern border by plane, train, and automobile is probably pretty dang risky too. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
I'm from Mullica Township.
Cape May.
I'm from Margate.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you. Welcome back. So Letitia James, among other things, because she said many unsavory things, I want to see if someone has the courage, the capability to file charges against her. I just don't think that it's legal. I don't think that it is ethical. And I think that she could be the recipient of a wicked bar ethics complaint and or criminal complaint because she targeted someone. She didn't prosecute crime. She picked a person and she went in search of what can she charge an individual with. She is an unsavory character. She said before she knew anything about anything that she was going to get Trump. She said, among other things, that he's too male, too pale, too stale. What the hell does that have to do with prosecuting anyone? Trump should sue her for some kind of malicious prosecution. I really believe. Now, look, these are corrupt states and cities and counties that he's dealing with. But I don't think you can just sit back and just keep being a pincushion and taking this crap. You got to defend it because, it's serious in nature because they've gotten it to serious places. But this is just wrong at so many levels. You think about the reason why they misused so many things. People ask me all the time, Trump didn't even get a trial? And I said, yeah, you have to understand, they used a law that's never been used, and they bent it in a way that it's never even, no one's ever thought of doing it like this. And the reason that there was a law on the New York books that you could do this kind of thing. Now, understand, Trump was guilty, and his trial was only like, how bad are they going to stick it to you? He never had a chance. There was that trial before the judge, Engoron already found him guilty. Even Newsweek, I think somewhere in my briefcase I have it, even Newsweek wrote a piece about how, oh, no, I take that back. I'm morphing two things. They did write a rather objective piece. It was a editorial opinion. Not their editorial board, but an op-ed piece is what I'm trying to say. But I'm going to share with you probably after the break, because we're about 2-3 minutes from the bottom of the hour break. There is a poll out. I'm not surprised by the results. I don't know if you're going to be surprised by the results. But it's specifically, finally, someone polled the question that I've been begging for them to poll. And that is, how do the American people feel about Biden charging Trump like this all over the place? Because it's Joe Biden. Fani Willis was meeting with the White House. This whole thing, all of it is connected. All of it. Jack Smith, all of it. Where do you hear the results of that? I don't think you're going to be shocked, but the results are probably even more conclusive than maybe when you hear them than you thought they were. I wasn't shocked, but it went a little beyond what I would have thought. Remember, I always say there's the 30% kook factor. No matter what. And they just lie, or they're crazy. They're kooks. But 30%, always kook factor. So if you get 70, you've got 100, is what I'm trying to say. Let me squeeze this in right before the break, because I might not have another chance today. Shohei Ohtani. This has my spidey senses tingling like you can't believe. I just can't believe that an interpreter acted alone and was able to transfer and pay $4.5 million. Now, look, financial advisors have done it. Other people, bankers have done it, where they've stolen money from clients. So that's not unusual. It's terrible and rotten. But it's not unusual. But for an interpreter to be able to do like a $1 million transfer, I mean, I did that in a former life. There was a lot that you had to do before you would transfer $1 million. You didn't just need the ABA, what they call the routing number, and the account number. Okay, you want to send $1 million from Ohtani's checking account. Okay, Just give me the ABA number and the account number, and we'll cut a check number here. We'll cut a bank check number. Don't worry about that. You don't need Ohtani's checkbook even. I'm not saying that Ohtani is a gambler and that the interpreter is just absolutely the fall guy. There appears to be an issue with the interpreter and gambling debts and things like that. There's just, I believe, and I'll tell you what, baseball initially was not going to investigate Ohtani at all. You have to do that. I know he's, the biggest contract in the history of Major League Baseball, but look, you set a precedent with Pete Rose, and we're hearing the same thing. They didn't bet on baseball. It's on other things. Pete Rose said he didn't bet on baseball. Then he admitted that he did. I don't know how this ends, but it's just an easy statement to make, and it sounds a bit trite, corny even. There's more to this than we know. Oh, Fannie Willis was talking this Saturday. She said that the train is coming. Oh, it is, Fannie? Really? The Trump train? Boy, there is a lot going on. My goodness. Thank God we're here together to sort through it all. 32 minutes past the hour. So much more straight ahead. Don't go away. This is the Hurley in the Morning program.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Thank you. I'm Harry Hurley with 3 stories that you can follow right now on our WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. Old is new. A favorite Atlantic City restaurant will reopen very, very soon. And we have information that's not been reported anywhere. Check it out. Tony Orlando, the finale at Mohegan Sun Arena in Connecticut was absolutely, positively amazing. We'll talk about that at 7:05. Wine and Dine series returns to Cape May. Read all about it.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. We kick off the final week of March with quiet, reasonably pleasant weather, although things will turn a bit more unsettled through midweek. Mostly sunny and dry today, cool with an occasional breeze. High temperature reaching for about 50. Coastal flooding threat this evening. Increasing clouds overnight, low 38. Tomorrow mostly cloudy, maybe a sprinkle, high 48. A few more rain showers Wednesday, high 52. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
This is an important safety.
Hurley in the Morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
Get us someone in the White House that's actually going to do something.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Yeah, that happens on January 20th when President Trump starts his second term. So this is one of the most important polls ever taken on any subject matter. Wow. Did I just say that? I've never said that statement in my entire almost 32 years on air. Let me say it again, because I've never said it once. I better say it twice. This is one of the most important polls ever taken on any subject matter, ever. John McLaughlin, who does incredible work, John and Jim. Let me not forget Jim. It's kind of like Rush and his brother David Limbaugh. David gets, because Rush is just so incredible and the greatest of all time, the GOAT, that people don't appreciate David Limbaugh. John McLaughlin gets more headlines, but it's John and Jim, and they do great work. Check this out. Now, this is going to come as no surprise to you if you listen to me and believe what I say. But, this is just now coming from someone else. I've been saying from the beginning that Joe Biden has weaponized every imaginable and unimaginable piece of the government. Everything is weaponized like never before. These are criminals masquerading as officials. And I said this is like Russia, what Biden is doing with Trump. Well, what do you know? They polled a whole bunch of likely voters. Let me go into the tabular section real quick. I'll find it. It is likely voters, and it was a very respectable number of likely voters. I'll find it. Here we go. Just to give you the methodology of the poll. National poll, 1,000 likely voters, a confidence interval, what they call the plus-minus margin of error, is 3.1%. And this poll was taken between March 9th and March 14th. So it's very current. Here we go. They note that Russian President Vladimir Putin just won re-election with 88% of the vote. But they note that he only did so after he jailed his leading political opponent, Alexei Navalny, and many of his supporters. And, of course, Navalny died while in prison. And Putin got rid of all of his other opponents. They kept one token opponent so that so they could say that it was some kind of democratic election. 56% of all voters say that Biden wants to stop Trump from winning by putting him in jail. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Only 30% say that that's not true, that Biden is trying to jail Trump. They're the kooks that I always tell you about. I didn't even know it, but there it is, 30%. I told you before the break, 30% kookery. A supermajority of Republicans, 86%, agree that Biden is weaponizing the justice system against Trump. However, this is not a partisan issue. Independents, by a margin of 53 to 30%, say that Biden is seeking to jail Trump for political reasons. Moderates say by a 48% to 32% margin that Biden is trying to jail Trump for political reasons. Even Democrat constituencies have a negative view of what Biden and his actions are doing. 41% of African Americans, 53% of Hispanics, and 53% of women agree that Biden is seeking to jail Trump for political reasons. This goes on to say that Biden and his legal henchmen have truly made Trump a sympathetic victim, which is what I've been saying from the beginning. Here are more findings of the McLaughlin poll. 67% say that politics has played a role in the indictments of Trump. 58% say that Biden has played a role in the indictments of Trump. 56 to 31% say that there is a double standard and bias at Biden's Department of Justice, FBI, and IRS, where they target Trump, but Biden and his family members get sweetheart deals. I mean, these numbers, they're validating everything that we hold to be true. 52% to 38% say the indictments against Trump were done because he leads in the polls and they want him stopped. 58 to 34% say that Biden should stop targeting Trump and interfering in the election, letting voters decide the next president. And regardless, Trump leads Biden 50 to 43 in the head-to-head poll. And the reasons for Trump's success and Biden's weaknesses are simple. 66% of all voters say the country is on the wrong track. And to you 34%, you are whacked. Who could possibly say that we're on the right track? 56% disapprove of the job Biden is doing as president. It says that facing serious challenges with the economy and crises internationally, the Biden campaign has shifted gears from winning on the issues to winning the Putin way by putting your opponent in jail. Fortunately, voters are seeing through this dangerous strategy and rejecting it. Wowza. How about that? How about that? I got to keep this. This is very important data. But no surprise. Also, Biden's Border Patrol's chief said over the weekend that terrorists may be among migrants. Oh, really? Maybe? That's funny, isn't it? Maybe. This was on CBS's Face the Nation, where Border Patrol Chief Jason Owens is warning that some migrants coming across the southern border may pose a serious national security threat. Oh, really? Quote, we try and get out in front of it and deny them the ability to use these areas, but at the end of the day, there's over 1,900 miles of border with Mexico. Yes, and the Biden administration loves it. This is part of they don't care who they bring in, as long as they keep bringing millions of people. They're importing Democrats into America.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
It's well-balanced conversation.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
It's the topics that matter to me.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. Let me give you just a little bit of audio. This evening, when I say this evening, this particular evening, this past Saturday night, it was billed, and Tom Cantone will speak for himself coming up in about 15 minutes. It was billed Tony Orlando, the finale. And it was magical. It was amazing. I guess it was 18,000 people in the Mohegan Sun Arena. It was an enormous crowd. And it was such a great crowd. And I believe that Tony Orlando played for in the neighborhood of 3 hours and 2 minutes. Something either right at that or close to that. And he was just remarkable how kind he was to many other entertainers, that he was calling people up to come up and perform. Lee Greenwood performed. There was this young guy from Australia that did a video that got something like 4 million views. He's got other videos that have gotten like 20 million views. And he recorded Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Tree. And Tony Orlando had him perform. That kid was pinching himself. And here was a little bit of what Tony said that I wanted to share with you. It was very special, very unexpected. I was rolling tape and just never expected this.
Together, we share dreams together. We've had similar experiences in our past. This is a friendship like Harry Hurley has with you, I have with you. It will go beyond. It will go into I'll walk up to God and I'll say, hey, make sure Tom gets in here, okay? Because there's nobody kinder and nobody nicer than him. I'll tell God 2 tickets any show if I can get in.
Tom Cantone said, I promise God, two tickets to any show. It was so fantastic. And of course, somebody texted me right while I was playing it. That's just happens to me every time, because this phone, I'm gonna have to get a drop phone. I'm serious. I have no choice. I have to get a drop phone. I don't want to, but I have to. I never wanted to have to carry 2 phones, but I have to, because the one is it just won't stop. And every time I try to do something, it happens no matter what. Let's see. Where are we? I mentioned the Border Patrol chief. That's Captain Obvious right there. Additional polling has come out. President Trump continues to lead in Michigan. And this is why this filth Biden campaign, filthy, dirty campaign, they cannot run There is no record that they can run on. They cannot run and say you're better off now than you were 4 years ago, that things are great, that Bidenomics is working. I'll tell you what's working is Bidenflation. And don't say Biden inflation, Bidenflation. One word. Because it's not working well. For example, I went away and the trip, you wind up having, to fill up twice, once before you go and once to come back home. You're talking about $150. And if Trump is in there, you could probably do that on $50. I mean, the amount of money that it costs, food, energy, everything. And don't listen to them tell you that it's working. You just don't know it. Don't let them tell you you're stupid. Don't get fooled by inflation rate coming down because prices have not come down. It's ridiculous what's going on out there. And I'll tell you what I had to do for the first time in a while. I could have I literally could have gotten back into New Jersey and then filled up. But there was just this very convenient stop that only involved going off the road a tiny little bit and then getting right back on. No complicated, long, trip to get on and off. It was just so convenient that I wound up filling up when I was at half a tank rather than waiting until we got back into New Jersey. But what I had to do, and it was the first time I've done it in a while, I had to pump my own gas. So you got to work the pump and figure out, do you put the thing in and then put your credit card in? Do you put your credit card in and then put the nozzle in? Do you pick the premium, blend that you're getting and then put the nozzle? I mean, you had to figure this out. And it's, I guess, because they all know how to do it in Connecticut. They didn't tell you how to do it. But for whatever reason, I figured, let me just logically do something here. I picked my blend. I put the thing in. I put the credit card in. And away we went, and it worked. And, of course, I got hit with a panhandler that said, I have no money. Can you give me money? And had to do that. But, yeah, it was the first time and didn't get gas on my hands or anything. I was, pretty proud of it. But we take for granted that we are one of the few. I did this report once or so last year. I want to say there's only like 2 states in America that are, there are some where it's both full service and self-service. But I think there's only about 2 states, we're one of them, New Jersey, that is all full service. Or, full service, not self-service. When I pulled in, I forgot about that. I said, Margie, I'm going to have to do this. No problem. I mean, that which I used to do it quite a bit. But now I can't remember the last time that I pumped my own gas, but we got it done. And there's places around the country where that just commonplace. Here's something else that's been happening since we were last together. Republicans in the House keep leaving, and they're not even being kind about it. I got to tell you something. If you run and you win, this leaving early when these margins are so incredibly thin. This guy, Ken Buck, happy to leave. Happy, happy. Happy. And now you have another one who's a good guy, that's leaving. This will take the margin down to 1. And there are special elections coming up. I mean, I don't want to depress you on a Monday, but Hakeem Jeffries could be the Speaker of the House before the end of this term. I'm leaning towards Republicans won't let it happen, but these margins are so thin, they really don't have control. It's a mess right now. So Ken Buck leaves. Another one announces that he's leaving in June. And I'm thinking, what are you doing that you can't stay until the end of the year? What are you doing? What is this? And what some of them are saying is that it's a real dysfunctional mess, which I don't disagree with. Republicans made a mess of this. And the sad thing is, none of this would be happening. Republicans should have won a comfortable 36 majority. And then you'd have a handful of whack jobs that if they left, good riddance, goodbye, beat it, scram, skedaddle, skidoo. How many other ways can I say it? Get out of here. Make like a tree. And get out of here. I hate it when you say it like that. You sound stupid. It's good. Make like a tree and leave. Stop saying it. You sound stupid the other way. That's Biff's grandfather. When Biff says, make like a tree and get out of here. It's make like a tree and leave. But yeah, they're getting it all the way down to a 1-seat majority. Now you realize that to get anything done, they have to have like perfect attendance, and you never have perfect attendance. Somebody's got COVID-19, somebody's got this, somebody's got that. It's really, really going to be tough. I told you a nightmare scenario where Trump wins, the Senate flips to Republican, and Democrats take the House. I'm telling you, that is not far-fetched. All right, Tom Cantone joins the program. We'll regale Tony Orlando the finale.
Atlantic City, WENJ HD3, Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you. 6 minutes past the hour. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the Hurley in the Morning program Tom Cantone, FFL, that's Friend for Life, President, Sports and Entertainment, Mohegan Sun Gaming International, and he is the architect of one of the greatest evenings of entertainment that would be humanly possible. When you think about all the entertainment that's happened in history and what took place in the Mohegan Sun Arena this past Saturday night, it is almost indescribable. Tom and I have actually had conversations when we said that you can't verbalize what happened. You actually had to be there, and that's not to come off-putting because people say, well, I wasn't there, but so tell me. So we're going to try. This is a spoken word format. We're going to try. But, Tom, there was something about that evening that's really beyond description.
That's why it was so important that you were there, because I could have never explained it to you. You could never read about it and see it and understand it, but you were there. So you can. It's not lost in translation. You are speaking fluently because you were there. Unbelievable night. It was an unbelievable night. It took months of planning. We produced this. It was like live television. and you never knew, what was going to happen. Hopefully, if there were any glitches, you were there to save the day, and my team was. There was a lot of behind-the-scenes maneuvering, getting ready with the sounds and the rehearsal. The running order was very complicated because it had a lot of video tributes that were pouring in from like Adam Sandler and Frankie Valli and Lionel Richie, and that had to be seamlessly set up by Tony. And then people in the audience like Priscilla Presley, Bill O'Reilly being introduced and talked about, and then people coming up on stage, Johnny Patillo and some of the Lion Sleeps Tonight, hit after hit, and how he introduced everybody to be part of this special memory and evening. The band was just solid.
Yeah.
It was that band I put up against anybody. They nailed it. And
that was like the days of Sinatra and Sinatra's band.
Yeah. They were a unit, a tight unit, and very much a part of the show. They weren't background at all.
Well, when he said that his drummer's been with him 42 years and the one keyboard player and vocalist 32 years, let me just roll off some names so that people can have an appreciation for what Tom put together. And if you're just joining our coverage, Tom Cantone, President, Sports and Entertainment, Mohegan Sun Gaming International, is our guest until the bottom of the hour. Then we'll take some of your phone calls. Tony Orlando, Thelma Hopkins, Joyce Vincent. So you had the reunion of Tony Orlando and Dawn. So much happened. I know you wouldn't have forgotten that, but there was a reunion of Tony Orlando and Dawn at the same time all this was going on. Lee Greenwood, Priscilla Presley, Andy Kim, Cousin Brucey, Johnny Patillo, the young man from, and maybe he's child if he's below majority age, Kai Baldwin from Australia. I explained about him at the end of the last hour, Tom, how he did Tie Yellow Ribbon recording and what happened thereafter, and 4 million hits and the whole deal. Jumbotron appearances by Frankie Valli, Adam Sandler, Smokey Robinson, Lionel Richie, Marie Osmond, the Righteous Brothers, Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr., Debbie Boone, Chris Angel, the Mind Freak, Dina Martin, Larry the Cable Guy, David Pack. I'm sure I'm leaving out something somewhere, but this all happened in 3 hours in your house, Tom.
I was going to get to the reunion, which to me was the icing on the cake. When Tony starts to set up the song Tie a Yellow Ribbon, they come out and they go, oh, no, you can't do that song without us, and here comes Dawn. And that was the highlight to me, because you could hear the gasp in the crowd because they were caught off guard. They didn't think Dawn was going to be there. And then they did a medley of their hits and talked about their hit TV show, the first interracial TV network show ever, and a lot of history made with them. Just how they greeted everybody at the after party. There was no security. You can't go here, you can't go there. It was family and friends. You saw it up close and personal. And then I got a chance to present him with a facsimile of a gold record that memorialized his career at Mohegan Sun, which ended up to be 65 shows, entertaining over 100,000 people. And I think he was taken back by that. And then we gave him a birthday cake because he turns 80 in a week. And, and you wouldn't know it. He is as fluid with his comments and the way he talks and his total recall and recollect. He's just on his game, but he was exhausted at the end. And, he, like you said, he left it all out there, Harry. There wasn't anything left for him to do.
Tom, I loved it when they performed Tie Yellow Ribbon around the old oak tree, Candida, Knock 3 Times. Has anybody seen My Sweet Gypsy Rose? All of that. And then Tony says, quote, "It's like we never left." And it was just beautiful, Tom.
and he didn't want to leave.
No.
So he did 3 hours and 2 minutes. So he beat Bruce Springsteen by 2 minutes. So he was, he didn't even know that, because he knows Bruce, and they were inducted into New Jersey Hall of Fame. And, he said to Bruce, your shows are so long, 3 hours, blah, blah, blah. And he says, well, you'll never beat me. Well, he beat him.
I love it. He thought he didn't beat him, but you had it timed, which is awesome, and he did. And I love the billing. Tony Orlando, the finale, a memory forever, and that's your motto, Tom, making memories.
Well, we talked about that months and months ago. What are we going to call it? Everyone says farewell tour. I said, no, I don't want to call it that. Everyone says that, and it's not believable because, too many artists and rock bands and all that said that was their farewell, which is a scam in a way because only, years later.
Right. Who was the band that said, we'll get back when Hell Freezes Over, and then they got back and they called it Hell Freezes Over Tour?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, they all signed a contract and they were going to perform again and, blah, blah, blah. And it's bogus. But so I said to Tony, I said, let's come up with another word. And I said, let's call it the finale. This is the finale. This is it. And then, the memory part is memories forever, and he loved it right away.
Tom, I know we're on a strict time limit with Tom this morning. He has an appointment he has to get to, so he's getting into a car during this break that we're going to go to right now. We're going to do one more segment with Tom on the other side. Tom Cantone, President, Sports and Entertainment, Mohegan Sun Gaming International, and we're regaling about this past Saturday night's Tony Orlando, the finale, A Memory Forever, that took place in the Mohegan Sun Arena, jam-packed, sold-out Mohegan Sun Arena, and Tony Orlando and company, they blew the roof off of the Mohegan Sun Arena.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning.
It's a woke society, and I'm fed up with it.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Your morning espresso starts right here. It's the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
What do we have from Joe Biden? Oh, let me put forward a $7.3 trillion budget. Do you not realize how bad this is? That we're going to be at 150% of GDP, which is unsustainable. We can't survive as a country with numbers that bad. The U.S. national debt could quickly reach 130% of GDP, shooting well past $50 trillion. Let me tell you, it may sound good on paper if you're not part of the wealthy, but every corporation that they raise taxes on, every rich person they raise taxes on, that's less money they're going to be spending and investing. That's going to benefit all of us and create jobs and goods and services at prices that we can actually afford and that we want, need, and desire.
The Sean Hannity Show from coast to coast later today.
Attention business owners, are you tired of seeing your hard-earned profits vanish into thin air due to hefty credit card processing fees? It's time for a change. 247payments.com has a software solution that eliminates your fees, offering you unlimited processing for just $49 a month. Ready to keep more of what you earn? Call us at 1-844-535-0385. That's 1-844-535-0385. Call now.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY. Why?
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're listening to Hurley in the morning.
Mays Landing.
I'm from Milica Township.
Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG.
HD.
Ocean City.
Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station. WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. 21 minutes past the hour. We have until the bottom of the hour with Tom Cantone, President, Sports and Entertainment, Mohegan Sun Gaming International. And we're talking about this past Saturday night's Tony Orlando, the finale, which took place in the Mohegan Sun Arena. And it was incredible. The sound, the lighting, the energy. It was really palpable how powerful it all was. And it just kept building, and big moment after big moment. Two-part question, Tom, and you can answer both. One of them firsthand, and one because I know you talked to Tony about it. What did this mean to you, and what did this mean to Tony Orlando?
I think it meant how important it is in life that you give back. And we have a friendship, first and foremost. And he always told me, I don't care if you ever book me again, we're FFLs forever. And, it meant the world to me to give back to him a night that he'll never forget. And to culminate 64 years at my place was a gift to me. And he's given back to me. And he's given back to his fans. And all the people that were important in his life, all the people you just mentioned, who took the time to either be there or send videos from all over the world. Adam Sandler was in Europe doing a movie. People took time out to be part of that night. And it meant the world to Tony, to end it like this because, he said it best, I can still hit the ball, but I can't run the bases. And, you got to know when it's time. Johnny Carson knew when it was time. There are others, unfortunately, that didn't know when it was time. Muhammad Ali didn't know when it was time. He kept fighting, and it looked horrible. And not with Tony. Tony wanted to go out on the top of his game at the age he is and not be like they used to do with Frank Sinatra. Frank wasn't at the top of his game, but they kept pushing him out on stage. He lost his way.
Or Willie Mays in a Mets uniform for 2 years.
100%. Yeah, you got to go out when it's time. And he knew it was time. And I was just blessed and privileged to turn time into what he wanted it to be, a combination of everything in one night in 3 hours. We made him proud, and he made us proud. So to answer your question, we gave each other a gift, and that gift will never, ever be replaced or forgotten. Home run.
Oh, it was grand slam. Actually, touched all four bases, four people. What did Tony Orlando think about it?
He couldn't stop talking about my team. He was so blown away by our sound guy, who stayed there morning, noon, and night. They put in 20 hours. Our mixing guy, same. They were exhausted. But they had, this was live TV, they had to go run through. There were many moving parts. The production side of this thing made him so nervous. He was very nervous about all of the moving parts that may or may not come together. And then at the same time being torn in 10 different directions to appear here, to say hello to this person, to go to a VIP party before the show, to get ready, to have family and relatives flying in from all over, to babysit all the people that, wanted a piece of them.
Yeah.
And I said before the show, you get in your dressing room and you lock down. I don't want anybody near you. You got to rest your voice. You got to get mentally and, physically prepared, because Tony has an open door policy, as you know, he greets everybody. I said, not tonight. After you're done with all this, you lock down, and he did. And then when it was over, I've never seen him. Well, you saw it. He couldn't stop talking about what this evening meant to him.
It was really interesting because when he came out, he basically apologized and said, because 3 hours and all of this made it seem like it was going to be a short thing, but then he just kicked it in to some afterburner, overdrive that was just incredible.
Because he had everyone there. He had the president of ABC was there, the radio people, because he does a Saturday night radio show on WABC now. And Cousin Brucey introduced him. The big applause of the night was Bill O'Reilly. When he introduced him, it was an overwhelming response. I mean, it was unbelievable. Priscilla Presley.
Yeah.
I mean, she was awesome. Just got there, and he told the story about he and Elvis and what Elvis meant to him. And in Vegas, when they were performing, they would spend a lot of time together. And you got to know her back then. So, and she has a show on her own now where she talks about Elvis and tells stories and whatnot.
Yep.
Everybody had a story to tell, and he told it. Not one cue card, not one prompting, a teleprompter, nothing. It was pure vintage Tony Orlando speaking from the heart. And when you speak from the heart, it's real and it's important and it's authentic. And that's what he was. That's the word. I just came up with the word. Saturday night was authentic. It wasn't pre-produced. And at the presentation at the after party, while everyone was packed in, I said, I book a lot of shows here, and some of them are 28 trucks or more with production and bells and whistles, the best money can buy, pyrotechnics, video screens. You didn't have one truck tonight, and you beat them all.
It's true. It was so well said, and it was so appropriate. Here was another thing I was thinking about. And again, when you go to a show, it's not the fans' job to be thinking about like, oh my God, like the technical aspect of this was flawless. But I want to comment about this. 3 hours and 2 minutes and not one microphone popped. The lighting was perfect. The sound was perfect. What a technical achievement your team accomplished, Tom.
That's when you did it well, when you don't even think about the technical side. That's when you hit a home run. And here's the other story. After 3 hours and 2 minutes, nobody left.
No.
8,000 people there. Nobody left. And it was a tribute to him. They didn't want to see him leave, and he didn't want to leave. You could tell. He took that slow walk, the final walk off the stage. It was sad in a way, and I said that in the press conference too, that this was both a sad and happy occasion for me. Sad that this is his last time ever, and happy that he's doing it with us. And and how privileged we are that he could have done it in Vegas, where he's 5-time entertainer of the year. He lives there too, half the time when he's not in Branson, Missouri. He could have done it in Atlantic City, which he did his second finale. And by the way, Mark Giantonio and I tag team the very last two shows, which is really cool because we're part of the FFL club. He could have done it in Branson. He could have done it in New York. He chose us. And Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville, Connecticut. And that is a tribute to so many people that you just talked about. He loves my crew. He loves the tribe. He loves all the people that he's grown up with for the past since 1998. He played when he first came to Mohegan. He played in the Wolf Den, and then before that, I think it was a tent. There wasn't even a casino or anything. And so, he goes way back to our history. And that was, we come full circle. That's his way of saying thank you to us, too. And then in my office, the chairman of the tribe and 2 tribal elders presented him with the blessing of the blanket. In my office, it was surreal. And that was our gift back to him, amongst other things. but that's only done with a handful of people over the long history of Mohegan, that he got that presentation, and he deserved it.
Tom, I know you're very close to having to leave, like right now. What did this feel like to pull this off?
I sat there and I looked around, and I said the same thing to Tony, and I tried to teach it to myself. Freeze frame this moment. Sink it in. Let it sit for a while. And that's what I did. While everyone's standing and cheering and clapping their hands, and I looked around the arena, and I just kept it. I just sunk it in. It just soaked it in with so much pride and happiness for everybody to be part of it. And I'm so glad you and Margie were there to see it. You were part of the family. You're part of the memories. You're part of something that will never, ever be taken away. All we will ever do is talk with pride and happiness about the experience we all had, thanks to Tony Orlando. He tied a yellow ribbon around memories for life.
He did. Tom, I know you have to go. To be continued, ... not a period. Thank you for the honor. It was a privilege to be there with you, and you took us around and showed us some of the touches you did all throughout the entertainment division, the corridor it was Tony's life in big jumbo size posters. It was amazing, Tom.
The Hall of Awards.
Yeah.
We took all of our national awards, and there's like 18 of them, and we put his picture inside the frames of his various part of his life and career. When I walked him down the hall, when he saw every picture, he got emotional. Every little thing we did, every little touch, we wanted to make him feel as though this was his moment, his time, his special memories. Walking down that red carpet, we put red carpet everywhere. It was just a moment that just for him. And boy, he did take it in, and he left feeling like, 64 years, he round the bases. He could run the bases. That night, he did run the bases. He hit the ball over the fence, and he ran the bases to everyone's cheering. And when he got to home plate, which was Mohegan Sun, he was home again.
Like Babe Ruth hitting 2 home runs in his last game, 2 or 3 actually. It was a triumphant finale. It really was. Yep.
It was. Like I said, I don't know if I'll ever top it, Harry. I don't know if I'll ever top it. And every day we keep saying that, and we do. But this one will have a special moment on the shelf. That one will never be topped. It was, the production value alone, the hits, the people that were involved just all felt the same way. There wasn't one person that, didn't have anything other than this is the best moment of my life tonight.
Tom, you need to do a 3rd edition of Bookham.
Well, I don't think so, but let me tell you something. I wish that would have been part of it, but Tony's in my book, so in a way he's there anyway. And by the way, your intro, it says top 100. You're top 50 of the most important radio people.
Top 30.
You got top 30. You got to change that intro, Mo.
Well, no, it says but it says we're one of the top 100. But yeah, we're 29, which is really a blessing. Tom, I have to tell you, I'm always proud of you. I've never been more proud of you, and you did it. You and your team did it, and that wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy. It was a lot of work, but it was, a labor of love. We all just couldn't do enough for him, and that says a lot about him and our relationship. And the FFL Club, and you were part of it. We're there to celebrate it. So thank you, Harry, for making it. Thank you, Harry, for being part of it too. You're very much a part of this night, and he singled you out in the after party. So feel proud as well. We all did this together.
Thank you, Tom. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you, Harry.
Keep in touch. See you, my friend. Bye now. Bye-bye. 35 minutes past the hour. Your call's next. 609 407-1450. I hope you'll call me right now. Whatever is important on your mind, let's talk about it. 609-407-1450. Michael Chait will join us at 8:06. He's the president of the Greater Atlantic City Chamber of Commerce. This is my first opportunity. We broke the news. By the way, I told you before I left last week for Tom Cantone and Tony Orlando that the people that reported the demise of the air show that had no direct involvement with the air show whatsoever, I wrote an article. I was as polite as I could be about them. I said that what they wrote and what they've said is premature. And it was. Very, very pleased to report that they were wrong. I believed, or I wouldn't have written what I wrote, that they were wrong. And it's great news that the Atlantic City Air Show will be taking place this summer because it's iconic. It's amazing for the communities. And I'm thrilled that the people who wrote and reported its demise were incorrect. And then Mayor Kane in today's 9 o'clock hour. So this is it. Well, we may have a little open for him. I don't think we're going to have Michael Chait for the full 8 o'clock hour, but I expect to have him for half the hour. Whatever time we're going to take, we're going to take. This is the only guaranteed open forum this morning. So I hope you'll call me now at 609-407-1450. I think I'm a little too late to share this with Noah. I think he's already at school, but because of my daughter Kristen, Noah's mom, I fell in like with a TV show called The Traitors, and they had a United Kingdom version, but there's an American version. Same host, Alan Cumming. Kristen said that Alan Cumming is the greatest host of this type of show that she's ever seen, and I think she's right. And I was going to do my imitation. If Noah was still in the car, I was going to do my imitation. Oh, he is here. I have learned and confirmed. All right, Noah, because I know you love this. Noah was imitating this. I saw Noah on Saturday when we got back, and I wanted to ask Noah like 5 different times because I heard he does a great imitation of Alan Cumming. Now, if you don't know the show, The Traitors, it's great. Season 1, I think, was a little better than Season 2, but they're both really good. And it's been renewed for a Season 3, which I was thrilled about. I actually looked it up. I didn't know if he would say it at the end of Season 2, but he did announce that they've been renewed for a Season 3. So Alan Cumming would always say to the folks on the show, are you a faithful or are you a traitor? But he would say it something like this. He would tell them to stand in the circle of trust. Are you a faithful or are you a traitor?
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
This is Harry Hurley. I've got 3 stories and a bad Alan Cumming impersonation for you right now. Old is new. A favorite Atlantic City restaurant will reopen soon. Read all about it. Tony Orlando, the finale was amazing. You just heard about it. Wine and Dine series returns to Cape May, specifically to Cape Resorts, specifically to the Virginia Hotel in the Ebbett Room. Are you a faithful or are you a traitor?
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. All good today, mostly sunny skies and dry weather. We are on the cool side, seeing some 30s still this morning, high around 50 this afternoon with an occasional breeze. Increasing clouds tonight, low at 38. Things become more unsettled through the middle of the week. Mostly cloudy tomorrow, maybe a sprinkle, high 48. A few rain showers Wednesday with clouds and a high Wednesday of 52. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG. Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning.
Biden is going to drive this country into the ground.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
All right, we have a mini segment. We ran a little bit long with Tom, but that's terrific that we did because there was so much important content that we wanted to share with you. So we'll be able to take your calls after this mini segment if you'll get in line at 609-407-1450. This portion of Hurley in the Morning brought to us in part by Congress Hall. Presidents, musicians, artists, dignitaries, esteemed guests for more than 200 years. Yes, Congress Hall stands as just such an iconic Cape May institution, an icon. Since 1816, classic American charm is felt the minute you walk through the door, from the marble-floored lobby to the American flags that line the history hallway to the spacious ocean view guest rooms and suites. An overnight stay at Congress Hall feels like you're stepping into your own little cottage by the sea. And probably over 25 years ago, I can't say I coined it because Margie did, when she said, and I've said this many times over the years, one night at Congress Hall is like a vacation. So you've got your little cottage by the sea paired with amenities of a world-class resort. Healthy indulgences at Congress Hall's Sea Spa, hearty farm fresh favorites at the Blue Pig Tavern, the cocktails in the brown room, and of course pizza and dancing and more. And I'm telling you, oh my gosh, the shrimp cocktail, the meatballs are absolutely addictive. In the boiler room, Congress Hall, and you'll see the actual boiler room cover as you walk into the boiler room. Because remember, in 1816, they shoveled coal. They didn't have the things that we have today. Congress Hall has it all, and a spring midweek stay also means no crowds and the best rates. Book your stay at caperesorts.com/Congress Hall. Congress Hall is America's first seaside resort. Back to your calls after this at 609-407-1450. 609-407-1450.
People all over the Jersey Shore have found the easiest way to stay connected to South Jersey's talk station. It's the WPG Talk Radio app. Read free, unlimited South Jersey news. Listen to your favorite talk shows. Send us breaking news tips and more. The WPG Talk Radio app is powered by Smokers Haven. You'll find the finest selection of cigars at any of their 5 locations. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. SmokersHavenNJ.com. You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning.
We need to do what's best for this country.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. 52 minutes past the hour. 609-407-1450. Phone lines are open. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You're on the air. Hello?
Harry?
Yes.
Harry?
Yes.
Could you possibly call me back at a later time? I have something I'd like to talk to you about. You know me. I'm your former school nurse.
Oh, I know exactly who you are. I better know. You knew me before I knew me. Yes, I have your number, and I will get in touch with you. Okay?
Okay. It's very important. But
I'm assuming it's about what we talked about yesterday. Correct?
Elder abuse?
Okay. Well, you told me that you had a theft. I'll call you back. Okay? I promise.
Okay.
All right?
Bye-bye.
You got it, Tony. 609-407-1450. Feel free to check in. 609-407-1450. You know, these are I'm going to tell you something that, whether you agree or disagree with this, these are the things I don't like about how our government works. How they conflate things, how they put things in bills, and then you wind up having to run with that or have it run against you. For example, with that latest spending bill, did you know they put in there that the U.S. embassies are banned from flying the pride flag? I don't think that should fly anyhow. I think only at an embassy the American flag should fly, and you should also recognize the nation where the American embassy sits. So I don't think there should be the pride flag anyhow, but this is actually in the spending bill, if you can imagine that. So the people that put it in, Republicans, wanted it in. I think Biden signed it without even knowing it was in there. He's actually saying now that he's going to see that new legislation is created to change this, to repeal that. And this is the stuff that happens. This doesn't make any sense. What's that even being done for? And what's that in the bill for? Now Speaker Johnson, he scrambled, he got the votes to pass the bill in the House. And he allegedly touted, they're saying, the pride flag ban as a reason for his party supporting and why they should support the bill. I'll tell you what, this Republican Party right now, particularly in the House, they're pretty messed up. Not all of them. But when the margin's down to almost nothing, soon it will be down to 1. This is what you've got. You've got a real mess on your hands. Oh, that's very kind. Dan, I saw what you wrote. It's very, very nice. Dan, he's the best. He wrote, it faded away. You know how if you get a text and you look at it real quick and then it's gone. I'll look at it in full during the break, Dan. But I read enough of it. Dan wrote that, people don't know the things that we do off the air. That's why, some people, they don't say this anymore, but I remember one time somebody said, "Oh man, I want your job, 4 hours a day." I said, "Oh yeah, 4 hours a day, huh? Okay." I said, "Let's go with that." I said, "I want you to just try to keep up. Try to work one day." You know the people that have filled in for me over the years, they need a day or two to recover from one day of waking up earlier than normal. And they're not getting up at 2:00. But yeah, I used to answer to that occasionally, not often, but occasionally. "Oh yeah, I want your job. I want what you do. 4 hours a day. You work 4 hours a day." I said, "Oh really?" I said, "Well, let's put it this way. If I do an hour of show prep for every hour I'm on the air, that's 8 right there." I said, "But that's not all." I said, "I have an entire business to run. There's a business side that you never hear me talk about on the air. That is an incredible amount of time. There's all the other things that we do, not to mention the Hurley in the Morning charity. And because for whatever reason, long ago, we became the go-to. When government is screwing you, when someone is doing something that's wrong, when someone needs help. I get calls if people have bugs and rodents and no heat, no hot water, inspectors in towns being sicked on them by unscrupulous, filthy, dirty politicians. I mean, it doesn't end. It doesn't end. You don't, and I'm not complaining. I celebrate the fact that we've been able to help a lot of people handle things that go on. See, I'm not afraid of any of these people. I'll expose them. If I see or hear them do the wrong thing, I expose them. So it's no problem for me. What are you gonna do to me you haven't already done? So I don't even worry about that. But a lot of people do worry about it. And they worry about their kids getting retaliated against, their spouse getting retaliated against, losing their job by some unscrupulous politician that puts pressure on someone to go do something that is so thinly disguised that you know where it's coming from, but they laugh and they act like you can't prove it. Well, I've been telling you for quite a long time, the day of reckoning is coming for a lot of these bad actors. I never worry about it because I know how it's going to turn out. I just don't know the exact expiration date. But I know just like milk is going to go sour at some point and smell and don't even think about drinking it, it's going to taste terrible, smells even worse. that it all works itself out. The bad actors take care of themselves. You think about it. And I'm telling you right now, you keep a scorecard of people like Fannie Willis and Letitia James and Jack Smith. You watch and see. When you have people out there that do the things that they're doing, you don't have to do anything about it. Just sit back and watch. We have chronicled so many different examples like this. The people that do wrong, it all just what should happen happens to them. They usually wind up doing it to themselves. It's not predictable. It's a certainty. It happens. And there's not an example where it doesn't happen. It's just a matter of when. Michael Chait, Atlantic City Air Show update next.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you. Welcome back. It's 5 minutes past the hour. Michael Chait will be joining us in just a moment. And this is the conversation. There's just certain things. I can't explain it, but there's just certain things that I know. Not calling anybody out by name because it's not necessary. But I remember hearing people were calling me because they know of, my profound respect for the Atlantic City Air Show and our longtime history. The Atlantic City Air Show was actually created in the conference room of Town Square Media, Atlantic City, with Michael's predecessor. And there's certain things I can't explain it, but just certain things that I know how it's going to turn out. Even when it looks like it might go one way, I always believed that the Atlantic City Air Show would go on. It would go on sans Thunderbirds, sans Blue Angels. It would go on. And for whatever reason, and I don't know if that's the difference between being an optimist and a pessimist, some believed that the Atlantic City Air Show was not going to happen, even when they didn't have enough information really to even make that determination. So some goofy reports came out, and I got a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of text messages. I told everybody the same exact thing. Those reports are premature. I don't believe that's going to be how it ends. And stay tuned, because had there been anything worth reporting, I knew all the rumors. If there had been anything worth reporting, you would have heard it from me. You would not have heard it from people that have no direct association with the Atlantic City Air Show at all. So I have to say, I felt bad for Michael Chait and the Chamber and Schultz Air Shows and everybody that's been a part of this Atlantic City Air Show for more than 20 years, because it's hard enough doing your job. And it was crunch time. It was like, we're going to know today if there's an air show or if there's not an air show. So why does somebody 3 days before that have to, then I'm sure that, I didn't talk to Michael Chait about this, but I'm sure then, because I get called, my God, can you imagine the president of the Greater Atlantic City Chamber of Commerce, how many phone calls he had to field prematurely before he could finish the work that he was doing? Like, in other words, how about I get to tell you once instead of having to clean up, in aisle number 6, 7, and then still do the work. And and here we go. There is an Atlantic City Air Show. So hopefully it's a lesson to those that felt whatever reason that they had to go jump the world. You didn't have some world exclusive that was going to make your career. It was, there was no reason to not wait for the decision anyhow. We don't have to wait for Chait. He's been observing this commentary that I've been doing that I don't want to say too much, but I wanted to say just enough to say, Michael, congratulations, because you at the 12th hour, you had to field all the naysayers at the same time that you were working to make it happen. And you did make it happen.
Morning, Harry, and thank you again for having me on, and appreciate all the kind words. But it takes a village to put this on. I mean, we've said before, it takes an Army and an Air Force and a Coast Guard, to make this event happen. But it just shows the media attention that it grabbed, how important this event is, not just to Atlantic City and the county, but to our region and the state.
Yeah. I mean, it's the biggest midweek air show in America.
Yeah, and it's the largest event in the state. It's the largest event in the state of New Jersey. So it's incredibly important for a variety of different reasons.
How good did it feel? Not to prove anybody wrong that was, seemed like rooting for the demise, but how good did it feel when you were able to confirm that, in fact, the 2024 Visit Atlantic City Air Show, in fact, would be happening, and welcoming the South Jersey Transportation Authority, I know, in a big way as well. This must have been a really good feeling.
It was. It was actually a relief, because the last thing you want to do is cancel an event of this magnitude. For 20 years, it's been strong, and it's been the premier event of the destination. It's iconic.
Michael, I really believe this. There would have been a way in 2 years or so, whenever, to restart it, but you never know. When you do something for 20 years and then you stop it, and then perhaps if it also didn't happen in 2025, there's no telling, what would have happened in 2026. I believe keeping it going was incredibly important.
It is. It's hard to disagree with that. I think when you look at everything that goes into the event, especially your sponsors that contribute for hospitality, is where a good portion of the revenue comes from that supports the event, they're going to find other events and activities to entertain their clients and their customers. So those dollars are going to shift, and trying to get them back in a couple of years is going to be a challenge.
Yeah, this was a really big deal. Give people an idea of hold on one second. I've been helping a gentle lady. All right, so she realizes that I'm on the air. There's a senior that I'm helping that is in an elder abuse situation, and I helped her during the break, and she just called back, but I think she realized that I was back on the air. But anyhow, so getting back to the Atlantic City Air Show with Michael Chait, the president of the Greater Atlantic City Chamber of Commerce. Give people an idea what we can expect the 2024 Visit Atlantic City Air Show.
It's going to be exciting. We still have the military performers, and I read the social media chatter about missing the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels, but that's completely out of our control. And it was a logistical change made by the U.S. Air Force. The Thunderbirds made a decision, like the Blue Angels, to move to weekends. Fortunately, we are one of 6 shows that have the Ghost Squadron. It is the Polaris program. It's tied in with SpaceX. They use this aviation program to train astronauts. These jets are amazing. They're only flying in 6 shows this year. That's our headliner. If you get a chance, Google them online. You can look up the PolarisProgram.com. It's under the aviation tab. They're tied in with SpaceX, and they're also tied in with St. Jude. I mean, it's an incredible program. And these pilots are former Thunderbird pilots. They're incredible. So we're extremely excited to welcome them to Atlantic City. We have the F-35, and Harry, from our work in advocating to base the next 5th generational fighter at the 177 Fighter Wing, this is a 5th generational fighter. This is something the Chamber, a number of our stakeholders and elected officials have been advocating for, to base this fighter jet or a 5th generational fighter at the 177th is tremendous. It's the first time it's ever been here. We have the Ospreys, the Marine unit Ospreys. There are 2 Ospreys that are coming. The Coast Guard, the Golden Knights that everybody loves. The 177 Fighter Wing will be flying. We're always looking to get more military acts, and sometimes they pop up, a month before the air show. But I'm looking at civilian contracts this week and next week to make this event incredibly exciting.
I agree. And when you think about all these different elements, and in fact the Ghost Squadron, which we were able to break back in December in a piece that I did in terms of learning about that through you, and we did an interview on it back then, that will be an epic performance. I've watched them on video, and they're elite as elite comes. And if you go to my article, you can read about what Michael's talking about, or you can go right to Polaris or do an search engine for Ghost Squadron. I mean, this show will be a great show, Michael.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it'll be a great show. And I think it's the environment as well. You're in a world-class destination. You're on the beach. You're watching military and civilian performers do these incredible aerobatics. They're flying, 600 miles an hour down the beach. The Golden Knights land there. The Coast Guard jumps in the ocean and swim to shore. It's an unbelievable experience. It's one of the greatest beach air shows in the country.
Let's take a break. Michael's going to do one more segment with us until the bottom of the hour. And when we come back, Michael, I'll ask you to recast. It's in earlier interviews that we've done. It's in articles that we have written. But we'll ask you to talk about when the show is, practice day, the air show itself, and any other particulars that you'd like to share when we come back in just a little bit. It's a short break. Michael Chait, president of the Greater Atlantic City Chamber of Commerce. And the great news is, in fact, that the Atlantic City Air Show Thunder Over the Boardwalk continues.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
I listen every morning.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Egg Harbor Township, Ocean City, Goshen, Cape May.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Welcome back. It's 18 minutes past the hour with Michael Chait, the president of the Greater Atlantic City Chamber of Commerce. If you missed the prior segment, check it out on the podcast. When we upload it, you can download it on WPG Talk Radio 95.5, the app. And we continue with Michael Chait. Michael, let everybody know, practice day, the air show date itself, when, and all of that.
So the Visit Atlantic City Air Show will be on August 13th and 14th. We are calling it a 2-day air show. We're working on some programming between the 2 days. This is what other air shows across the country are doing. It's essentially the same air show on both days with slightly less flybys, but that, the confirmation of that schedule doesn't come out until late July, early August anyway. But August 13th and 14th are the dates.
And midweek for the Atlantic City Air Show, obviously, it's been perfect for us. It's no longer, and we were very fortunate, Michael, because the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels stopped even earlier. The Thunderbirds continued to do the Atlantic City Air Show because of their love for the show, really. They had stopped doing midweek as well. Not just this year. They had stopped doing them in the past.
Yeah, I think it was 2018 or 2019 they first approached us and informed us they were considering switching to the same schedule that the Blue Angels do, and that's weekends only. They told us a couple weeks prior to this 2023 air show that they were going to weekend only, and it makes sense for them, Harry. I think they want to be on the ground a little bit more. They want to get involved with your aviation programs and STEM programming, go into children's hospitals. That's all part of what they do. And they're here in a midweek air show really doesn't give them that opportunity. We're able to do a Pet the Jet a day, or we sent them into the Boys and Girls Club. We sent them into the Egg Harbor Township Police Activities League one day. But it's short because they have to get back to the base to get in the jets and go fly. So they want to do more in destinations. And just to give everybody an idea, they received over 2,500 requests to fly at different events throughout the course of the year around the world. So for 20 years, we were able to get them at a midweek air show competing with 2,500 other, events. And what they tell us, they love the hospitality. They love flying over the beaches. They love looking at all the people on the beaches.
Yep.
And it's one of the most difficult shows that they fly in because of the proximity to the buildings. And you got to remember, they're adrenaline junkies. They're jet pilots. They're fighter pilots. They love that need for speed is exactly who they are, and they love it.
Yeah.
They'll come back. They would come back if we have a date that fits in their schedule. So right now, we're requesting them and the Blue Angels for 2026. We won't know until December as to what happens. but we're putting in midweek and weekend dates just to see what we can get back.
Great approach, because people love them, and they've been such an integral part of the Atlantic City Air Show. And I agree with everything, Michael, that you just shared in terms of how fortunate we've been for 20 straight years to have either the Blue Angels or the Thunderbirds. And either I'm having a false memory. Was there one air show that we had both?
There was one air show. I want to say it might have been 2014. I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but both were here for one air show, and that is incredibly rare.
Just iconic. I mean, that's like unprecedented. You get one or the other, and usually you get neither. So, so we were very, very blessed. But it is true, though, because of my opportunity to work with you and before you with Joe and your great teams, I've had such a unique opportunity to get to speak to a lot of the people from the different, apparatus and such. And they all say the same thing, how much they love the Atlantic City Air Show. There is something very special about our venue. You covered the reasons. I won't repeat them, but obviously, it's like a enormous runway, having the boardwalk, the beach, the Atlantic Ocean, everything that we have in terms of the spectators and the hundreds of thousands. So, I mean, it's been epic. That's why I was so thrilled. And I can't explain why, but I was utterly confident that you'd get it done. I want to mention Governor Murphy. I also was told by people that I trust and believe in that the Atlantic City mayor was helpful. But it was Governor Murphy. It was you. It was your team. It was the willingness of Governor Murphy to step up, and I have to say it, make the South Jersey Transportation Authority available. I think it's terrific that they stepped up. And now they're going to be a big part of this show.
They've been one of the biggest partners of the air show, as you know, for over 20 years. Help logistical support, and now they're in a much more significant way to help carry this event forward, and we're thrilled to have them and very fortunate. Another person that was highly involved with this was Jeff Bassler from the Department of Tourism. He used to be the executive director of the ACCVA back in the day. Eric Brophy from the governor's office, Tim Sullivan from EDA. I mean, it goes on and on and on. The people that we worked with, CRDA over the years, but the mayor made a phone call to the governor's office. The governor reacted quickly. We had a hard deadline before we started incurring costs, and we were able to pull it off with the help of so many people. So we're excited. I know you are. I can't wait to keep working with you on the air show this year. We're going to set up all our guests going forward. We're getting all the PR and marketing contacts. But we got a great story to tell, Harry, and I can't wait to work with you on it.
Same here. It's going to be wonderful. And I would ask all of our listeners, don't listen to the same naysayers that tried to write the demise and speak the demise of the air show. Listen to the people that are actually running it when they come out with the schedule, exactly who will be in the show. I believe everybody is going to be very, very pleased. It's understandable. People love the Thunderbirds. They love the Blue Angels. But I'm very much of the belief that they're going to quickly fall in like with the Ghost Squadron.
I completely agree with you. They've never seen anything like this. And that's part of the intrigue.
Go look at the videos that I've looked at. Go look at this Polaris space program. When you're dealing with an entity that is in outer space, I mean, let's start there. That's rarefied as it gets. And then you have what this squadron does that is electrifying. I remember when you told me, you said, Harry, go look up Polaris, go look up the Ghost Squadron. And I got back to Michael and I said, oh my gosh. And I wrote the article that we did back in December. I forget, it was maybe a few weeks before Christmas, when we published what we knew so far, including the Ghost Squadron. And that is an elite act that, as you mentioned, only will perform 6 times.
That's it. Their first show, I think, is in April down in Florida. Yeah, they're at the Sun and Fun, April 9th through 14th. They do 2 more shows before they get here in August. So it's going to be very rare to catch this act, and we are incredibly lucky to get them.
Oh, without a doubt. And I guarantee you got it because of reputation, didn't you?
Yeah, reputation, crowd, hospitality. When we go to the air show convention, we have performers coming up to us all the time, asking. They've heard about the hospitality, they've heard about the crowds in Atlantic City, and they've heard about the FAA and the 177th and how well they're taken care of there. It is so many elements to this, but they all want to come to Atlantic City. Now it's a question moving forward. What do we do on the weekend? Do we go after the Thunderbirds and Blues and move it to a shoulder season weekend? Do we keep it midweek where you might see more economic impact? But know that we are a high priority for military and civilian teams to come to Atlantic City, which is a great, great place to be.
And obviously, if you want, we're doing nothing but tell the truth here. If you want the Thunderbirds and or the Blue Angels, the show would have to move to the weekend because they're not going to do a midweek air show.
That's correct. That is 100% accurate. If we want the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds or the Navy Blue Angels, we are required to move the event to a weekend. And you and I both know, Harry, moving it to a weekend in July and August would be incredibly challenging and probably not in the best interest of the destination because we're already so busy. But May, June, maybe that first weekend in September, there are a few weekends that are open that we're going to go after them for, and we're going to see what they have to say.
Oh, without a doubt. And it would be interesting. Now, if you polled the air show community, people that love air shows, and if you said that, would you rather have a midweek air show that has every element, including the Ghost Squadron as the headliner, or would you rather have the Thunderbirds or the Blue Angels, but you would have to move it to the weekend? I think that most people would probably say move it to the weekend.
I would agree.
Now can I say one other thing about that, though?
Please.
Because moving it to the weekend, though, a guy in your position, though, you have many different calculuses. It's not just what apparatus would you love to have. This isn't like your birthday and you got this birthday wish list. Okay, I want a pony, and I want, it's like Spalding when he's talking on what's the movie with Chevy Chase and Michael O'Keefe, Caddyshack. And Spalding, he goes, and Ted Baxter, that's how I remember him, Knight, says, you'll get nothing and like it, Spalding. So Spalding wants a pony and he wants all these different things. You have to be able to put something together. This is an event midweek that brings incredible room nights, such an incredible economic spend. It's at a helpful time, of year in the midweek, as opposed to if you were, and again, you and I both know this because one year it was done during the school year. Doing it during the school year is not the best time of year for attendance. We saw that. We know that now.
It's a challenge. There's no question about it. There's pros and cons both ways. You look at the economic impact and you look at your headline performer and which carries weight. It's something we're going to evaluate and balance, but we're going to ask both the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels about what weekend dates are available. And that's something that you have to think about when you look at May and June. The graduation for both of the academies are that time, so you're not getting either one of those teams during those academy graduations.
That's big.
You're also not getting them on Memorial Day weekend. And Miramar is in May or June. That air show, Miramar is kind of important to the air show industry.
Of course.
You probably won't get right.
Yeah, Top Gun and stuff like that. Here's the other thing, too. If you have it during the weekend in the summer, you're really taxing. This is a busy time of year without the air show.
We need 400 room nights to accommodate this event. And getting that in a weekend in July and August is an incredible challenge. We need 115 rental cars. And the weekends in the summer, it's hard for that.
So if you're talking about having the Thunderbirds and or the Blue Angels ever again, you have to move it to the weekend. To move it to the weekend, you almost have to make it that it's not during the summer, and then it starts to really limit, almost like spring, where you would be able to have the Atlantic City Air Show.
Yeah, and I think that because of some of the aviation programming that's going on and the expansion of career exploration in aviation, it creates some other opportunities to bring area youth to the beach from the tri-state region. So maybe there's other elements. I think it gives us some opportunity during the school year to become more creative, and it's a class trip. And you can plan it. Some other air shows do that, and I think that's an opportunity as well that we haven't been able to capitalize on in August because nobody's in school.
Exactly. So, it's a lot of moving parts that you have to figure out.
Yeah. I mean, we love the event. It's a challenge.
But I'll tell you what, though, when you do your pro forma and you send it to the military and they say, hey, we can have the Thunderbirds, we can have the Blue Angels, but here's the weekend dates, then that's your nice problem at that point. You have to decide, can you do it that date? And because I really believe after 20 plus years, you'll get offered for them to perform the Atlantic City Air Show on X number of, possible dates. I think you'll get more than one date, and then it'll just have to be a decision. Can you overcome the realities of what those dates would mean?
Yeah, I think together we can, right? With all the support and all the help and all the work we all do to pull this event off, I think we can. But we are absolutely on their radar. When I met with both of the teams in December discussing the event and moving it to a weekend, the Blue Angels said, please let us know.
I know they love the Atlantic City show. It's just it's on the midweek, so they can't do it. The fact that if it was on the weekend, I know they will pick. You know it too. You're just not cocky about it. I know they will pick Atlantic City. It's that great. It's that mature. A 2-decade track record of really doing a great job putting an air show together makes it a place. And the crowds being what they are, huge, makes it a place they want to be. It's all a matter of, can you make it work?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. You hit the nail right on the head there. It is an enormous opportunity for us. It's the premier event of the destination. We're doing everything we can to protect it in all of these challenging economic times and moving to weekends. But this event is, and you do it too, we all put our heart and soul into this event to make sure it pulls off. And I'm fortunate to have the support of so many different people, including our board and the Casino Association. It goes on and on. It does take an enormous amount of collaboration. The city's been great at it. Great.
Yeah, there's no question. Police, fire, everything, public works. Everybody really just steps up big time. Nobody complains. Everybody loves to do it. Everybody gets along. It's really a blessing. It really is tremendous. And I have to say, they have sort of come up during this conversation, but Visit Atlantic City has hung in there for you, and they deserve a little bit of love right now about that, your title sponsor.
Yeah, Visit Atlantic City. Coming out of the pandemic, the air show was not going to happen. We discussed this at a board meeting, and Larry Sieg, president, CEO of Visit Atlantic City, pulled me aside after the board meeting, said, hey, let's catch up. We can be the title sponsor and save this event. Because you remember we lost the Geico Sky Typers.
Yep.
That's an act that didn't charge us and provided us with a significant sponsorship.
Yes.
So you had to hire a civilian act, which could cost $20,000, $30,000, and you lost the resources they had provided otherwise.
Yeah.
And Larry and his team stepped up, saved the air show then. We're not even having this conversation today about SJTA coming on board and continuing the air show if it wasn't for Visit Atlantic City. So, they deserve a tremendous amount of credit as a title sponsor.
And it's really, there's a term symbiotic, which I don't like, because that's like a fish tank, like algae eaters, and other, inhabitants of a tank. That makes it, a different comment. But the relationship building that takes place here, Visit Atlantic City is able to bring in their clients. Their clients are now taking part in a world-class event. So you have all that going on. So it's just really good for the community at large. And, by the way, and the destination.
Yes, absolutely. The earned media we get, the bookings of convention business that Visit Atlantic City does at the event. It is a pleasure to walk into their chalet on the beach and meet with their clients and talk to them about the air show and how do you pull off these events and what are the partnership opportunities that exist. They maximize every opportunity of this event for the clients and the destination. It's an incredibly unique event. We've got to keep it going. I don't mean this in a macabre way, but did it feel just a little bit good that you were able to prove the naysayers wrong that wrote off the air show, to be able to come out like about 24 or 36 hours later and say that the air show is on? It had to be a little bit of a good feeling. You could say we were telling everybody, there's nothing to report at this time. Yes, we're working on the air show, but as of right now, there's nothing to report. And a lot of the numbers that were reported before and the reasons were all incorrect. And I think that's what bothered us a little bit. It wasn't that the air show was at risk. I was okay with that coming out because every year that could be the case. Certainly after COVID, with inflation and all the changes, that's fine. But the misinformation that was coming out was, you're trying to give everybody a little bit of pause, give us some time. We knew the deadline was coming up as the March 20th, but you can't come out and say that. You just don't talk about events publicly. There's no good comes of it.
I kept telling everybody that reached out to me, Michael, that you don't see us reporting, do you? So obviously there's nothing to report right now, because if there was, we would have been reporting, and we didn't. I did write an article earlier than I otherwise would have because I saw false reporting, and I just thought that on balance, and I didn't ask anybody's permission, I just wrote it. I wrote a piece that these reports are premature. I didn't take cheap shots at anyone. I just knew, because I knew the facts, they were premature, and that very shortly thereafter we were going to know. And, of course, the good news came in. And I think keeping the momentum of the Atlantic City Air Show, you just can't overstate how important that was, that there's no pause. To say, hey, look, we're coming back in 2026, yay. I mean, there's just so many bad things that can happen in 2 years.
Anything could change. Like we said, we didn't find out about the Thunderbirds changing until 3 weeks before this past year's air show.
Right.
Who's to say in 6 to 8 months or another year from now, they don't go back to midweek air shows with a new commander? Maybe they change things.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
But the fact that you stay in the game means that you live to play another day. And if that change happens, fantastic. If it doesn't, then you adjust. Or if your calculus is, we really want them, but we need to be a midweek air show because of our jurisdiction and the seasonality and all that. I mean, this site gives you options at this point.
It does, and it's always extending the possession. Right?
Yeah.
You're talking sports
there you go.
With basketball.
Exactly.
Hold on to the ball, extend the possession.
10 yards in a cloud of dust.
That's it.
And the thing about it is you're in a position of strength because the show continues. If you're in a pause, that's a whole different ball game. Yes. I think it's very cool. We know for the next 2 years it's a midweek air show, because I don't think there's any reason to I'm not speaking out of school, but I don't think there's any reason to look at that any further than when you actually have a decision to make in the year 2026 and beyond. Then I think it becomes a really tough call.
It does. It does. And you have to treat your midweek air show similar to the way you treat March Madness or a bowl game. Like, I don't know who's playing, but I want to be there for the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Right? I want to be a part of this. And that's how you have to look at it. And because we don't get our military performers until December, that announcement comes out. And then our civilian performers, we typically book March, April. So that's what we're looking at now. And that'll be for the August show.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to do everything I can in the most positive way to continue to promote the Ghost Squadron, because Everybody needs to give them a chance. And when you see them perform, the wow factor is going to be there. You're going to know that you saw something special. You're going to know that you saw a showstopper, that you saw a headliner. It's going to be apparent.
Yeah, and a big part of Ghost Squadron is, we're going to line up interviews with them with you, certainly, after their first couple air shows to get the information out, let you know who these people are. They're getting us B-roll footage for us to share on social media. I think seeing is believing, and as more people start seeing what they are and understanding who they are and the good that they do for St. Jude's, and that they're tied in with SpaceX, it checks a lot of really, really positive boxes beyond being fighter jets.
Yes, exactly. Michael, we're so late for the break. I just kept you because you're so interesting, and this is so important. Anything in closing that you want to share?
No, looking forward to it. If everybody stays in touch with us for Visit Atlantic City, check out our website, AtlanticCityAirShow.com, and we'll be providing updates in the near future. Congratulations.
Your leadership is noted, and very, very happy that this all worked out.
Thank you so much for all your support over all the years and what you've done for us recently. I appreciate it, Harry. And looking forward to working with you for the 2024 Visit Atlantic City Air Show.
Me too, Michael. Let's keep in touch. Can't wait.
You got it, buddy.
See you, my friend.
Take care, Harry.
Bye-bye. You do the same.
Bye.
And we're going to promise you that. We do it every year anyhow, but we're really going to redouble and rededicate our efforts in terms of the interviews that we do so that you can listen to the Golden Knights when we bring, the team leaders on, and the civilian apparatus performers and the military people. And I think that's so important what Michael just shared at the end. Interviewing the Ghost Squadron is going to be fantastic. It's going to be exciting. And I'm telling you, they are elite. I know what they do. They're going to be they're going to become a real favorite. I really believe that. And again, only 6 jurisdictions have the Ghost Squadron in 2024, and we're one of them. It's a big deal. We'll be back. This is the Hurley in the Morning program on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. So excited that the Visit Atlantic City Air Show is on. As I told you before, and we were right, all that other stuff, all that other slop was all premature and all wrong. Stay tuned and stay close to here. This is where you're going to get the one and only truth. You get it one time instead of the bad news, the inaccurate news, and then the cleanup in aisle 7.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Harry Hurley at 44 minutes past the hour. 3 stories that you can follow on our WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. Old is new. A favorite Atlantic City restaurant will reopen, I believe, in the month of May. Check it out. It's a great story. Tony Orlando, the finale was beyond amazing. You can check that out, including my exclusive photos where we were up close and personal with all of them. Wine and Dine series returns to Cape May. It's all on the app. Check it out. We'll be right back.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. We kick off the final week of March with quiet, reasonably pleasant weather, although things will turn a bit more unsettled through midweek. Mostly sunny and dry today, cool with an occasional breeze. High temperature reaching for about 50. Coastal flooding threat this evening. Increasing clouds overnight, low 38. Tomorrow mostly cloudy, maybe a sprinkle, high 48. A few more rain showers Wednesday, high 52. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today. This is an important safety.
You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning.
Honesty and transparency, it's not afraid to get down and dirty and really just tell me the truth.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Let me try to do justice to a story that I think right now is a little bit mysterious. This all unfolded when we were, since we were last with you. Shohei Ohtani. Some will say he's the best player in baseball. I want to say it's still Mike Trout, but I don't think I'm being honest if I said that, because I think you have to say Aaron Judge or probably even Shohei Ohtani, because the man can pitch and he can hit for power and he can hit for average and he can run. I mean, he is really, I don't think since Babe Ruth has there been someone like Shohei Ohtani. But there is something, when my spidey senses tingle, I'm usually right. And I don't mean a tingle up my leg like Chris Matthews fawning over Barack Obama. I'm talking about when I see something and hear about something that just doesn't add up. I don't jump to any conclusions, but like everybody else, we all have an opinion and we have an early view at something. And I'm usually I want to wait for more information before I make a decision. So if you twisted my arm behind my back and I started hearing cracks like it was going to snap, I will tell you that I think that Ohtani himself has a problem here. But I want to be given the benefit of the doubt that I didn't just say that, because I want to hear from him. And again, I don't want to hear anything lost in translation, because we're going to hear from him today, because he has to speak on this topic. Nobody was buying that $4.5 million in wire transfers could simply be done by the interpreter Ippei Mizuhara. I don't believe it. I'm a former banker. To do $1 million transfer, there's a lot that goes into that. You don't just get to say, hey, I got the checking account number, here's the ABA routing number, and here's the account number. I want you to fire off $1 million out of somebody else's account. Now, again, we don't know, because $1 million from Ohtani is maybe like $100 or $1,000, depending on the person. So it is relative that he might have somebody, that there's a certain amount of his money that he does make available to one other person to be able to have authority to do transactions and things that, either he doesn't have time for or that he delegates, because keep in mind, the man has a $700 million 10-year contract. So that's $70 million a year. So $1 million wire transfer isn't the end of the world for somebody when you look at the economies of scale. But when Major League Baseball immediately said they're not investigating Ohtani, that it's just totally investigating this interpreter, I thought, wait a minute. Who does that? Where's Jack Chitterelli? Who does that? Who says that? That seemed like cover-up to me. Like Major League Baseball realizes this is the face of Major League Baseball. But guess what? You got to give him the Pete Rose treatment. He's got to, unfortunately, because gambling is involved and it involves his money, he's got to prove, hate to say it, I'm not Nancy Pelosi saying he deserves his day in court to prove his innocence, but he's got to prove it. Money went out, and a lot of it, to pay gambling debts. Now, they are trying, and maybe they're trying because it's the total truth, time will tell, that it's this guy Ippei. It's totally him. And evidently, Ippei does have a bit of a gambling situation here. So the manager of the Dodgers, Dave Roberts, has confirmed that Ohtani will address the matter publicly. That is supposed to be today. They say it was his decision to do so. Whatever. I don't believe that. Dave Roberts says, quote, it's the right thing to do. And let's see what he says today. I'm keeping my powder dry until he speaks, but I'm telling you right now, I have a lot of questions in my mind about this. It doesn't seem correct. Got to get this break in. We'll be back. Don't go away.
A $500 Visa gift card is up for grabs now on the WPG Talk Radio app. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
The surrounding muscles need to compensate.
Told you we had to get that break in. I mean, we got that in under the gun. You might think I do this for 32 years. When we come back, it's going to be a game time decision. He's got a lot of good things going on. He's handling new cars, the Canes custom carts, and a lot of things. We may have the mayor. We may not. If we've got him, great. If we don't, I've got you, and you've got me. 609-407-1450, an open phone line. The Hurley in the Morning program, fourth quarter begins right now. Don't go away. And if you've been trying to get through, now is a good time to do it. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
It is 5 minutes past the hour, so we're grabbing extra time. Let's take it. Let's take full advantage of it. Mayor Kane is at a car auction. He's running later than expected. Everything's happened, including hitting traffic, and he's going to keep us posted. He says it's going to be close. So maybe we'll get Mayor Kane today. Maybe we won't. But I know we will get you at 609-407-1450. Welcome to the program. You're on the air. Hi there.
Good morning, Harry.
Hey.
I wanted to circle back to the 8 o'clock hour. I had just gotten in the car to do kid drop-off, and I heard something about they want to put a pride flag at the...
No. I'm glad we're talking about this, because that is living proof that if you hear a piece of something, you could be left with a totally different meaning. No, here's what happened. They had been placing pride flags at various embassies. The legislation... And Mike Johnson, the speaker, made sure this was in there. They put in the legislation that you cannot fly the pride flag at American embassies. It's now unlawful to do that. It passed both houses because the Senate had to concur. They needed the money. They want all this a lot of it horrific spending. So Mike Johnson actually got it in there. And now Biden says he's going to try to get legislation passed that will overturn that, but he signed it as well. So it's the exact opposite of what you thought. They used to fly the flag. Now they legally cannot fly the flag.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. So I called before we spoke on, gay families, things like that. I've called a few times.
Yes.
And so I come from a same-sex family. I have a couple of my daughters are gay as well, and I can tell you that we do not want our flag anywhere. We don't want it outside our house. We don't want it at the school. We don't want it at any embassy. We don't want to walk around with a pride flag on our shirt. We don't want anybody to know what we do in our bedroom.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. If we're all the same, I don't have a flag. What's anybody need a special flag for?
Just to show your sexuality.
Yeah, exactly. We have one flag. We have the United States flag. That's what they're allowed to fly at the embassy, but not this other stuff. I mean, what are we going to have? 1,000 flags? Everybody's going to have their own flag?
No, not for sexuality. Nobody should know what I'm doing in my bedroom.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be flying outside my house.
Well, I'll tell you,
wild.
you have no idea other than me saying it to you when we have the opportunity to speak like we have. Because if I say it, I get called names. If you say it, you have more credibility on this topic than I do. I would, if I say it, it's just, that's somebody that's just, again, xenophobic, homophobic, this and that. And I'm not any of those things. I just don't think we should be flying any of these other flags at our embassies. So The House took care of it. The Senate had to go along with it or they weren't going to get their money. Biden had to sign it or he wasn't going to get his money. And so it's out of there.
Yeah. Well, there's a huge group of us, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of us, that are coming out of quote unquote hiding and going to Trump rallies and showing our face and saying that we are, conservative. And we're sick of this. We're just sick of putting in one group of people that are, libs or Democrats or whatever. We're not them.
Yeah.
We're business owners. We're families. We want to live our life. We don't want people to know what we do. It's just we want to have our old America, but with the rights that we have now. So we can get married and we don't lose our homes like, a long time ago.
Look, there were some terrible things. We know of an example where someone was in a relationship. They wouldn't let the person see their loved one when they were in the hospital, but after they died, the hospital came after that person to pay the bill that they wouldn't let see their significant other because they weren't officially recognized. So I love the recognition. I love that everyone, has the right to love who they want to love. But it should be the way that you're saying it. It should be private, not public. What would be there's not a heterosexual flag that we fly. I mean, we're all proud of ourselves, but there doesn't need to be that.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to call in and say hi. We haven't spoken about a year, but this topic is my favorite. And I can speak for hundreds and thousands of people that feel the same exact way that I do.
Well, thank you for your leadership.
I'd like it to be known.
Yep. Glad you called.
Thanks, Harry.
Yep. Let's talk again. I love it. We have spoken several times over the years, and she just makes so much sense. And I'm sure there are those who want to be on the political side of the agenda and are not pure, but are very hyper political, that hates that there's someone like that can say that, look, this is our community, but we don't support this kind of thing. I know that, pun intended, flies in the face of what you're trying to accomplish. And you'll see there'll be awful statements made about Mike Johnson and this legislation and that flying the flag is going to make people names that you'll call them and things like that. Not that it shouldn't have been done in the first place. They'll just call names, at Speaker Johnson and anybody that supports it. But don't forget, Joe Biden supported it too. So did Chuck Schumer. They all did. So the line is long. Get in line. There's a lot you got to go through. It's not just one person that you can hold accountable. A lot of people voted the exact same way on this. And I know it's inconvenient to those that like to politicize everything, but the flag never should have been flown at embassies to begin with. You have the flag of the nation, country, and you have the American flag. That's it. No need for anything else. One nation. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Harry.
Morning.
I need some dispensation from you. I have not heard one.
Well, I can issue special dispensation. It's part of the powers that I possess. So if you're asking for it, please, the time is yours.
Okay, well, I can't take too much time because of my circumstance right now. But the bottom line is I want to make a prediction, and I hope that I'm accurate. I predict and I hope that Donald J. Trump files an action in federal court somewhere, a RICO action against all of them, starting with Joe Biden, Smith, Lataya, whatever, Fannie Willis, all of them.
Hey, I would love that. George, I don't think it's going to happen just yet, but I think it will happen one day. Maybe Biden has to get impeached, because he is president, so you can't really charge him right now. But you can charge him when he's not president. But, of course, he'll get the defense. He's Meshuggah, so he can't, he's too unwell to be a defendant, but he's fantastically well to be the leader of the free world. How's that going? Not so good. But Letitia James, Fannie Willis, Jack Smith, the whole Peanuts gallery, he should go after all of them.
Every single one of them. And Joe Biden, whether he can be charged at this time or not, presidency or not, he needs to be the number one guy on the list.
Well, I don't know if you heard earlier, and I know you got to run, the poll that came out, because the Democrat media will not poll this question, The numbers are amazing at the, in some cases, super majority of the American people that agree that Joe Biden is trying to put Trump in jail so that he can win the election, so that he can get rid of his opponent. It's very, I've been saying it from the beginning, very Putin-esque what Biden is doing, and the American people are onto it, even Democrats.
All right, have a great day, Harry.
You too, George. Good to talk to you. Let's get the break in. We'll be right back, approaching 15 minutes past the hour. Mayor Kane, and we learned this later in the 8 o'clock hour, was a game-time decision. So we may hear from him, we may not. So until we do, or if we do, let's treat it as open forum. And we haven't been able to take many of your calls today. Let's do it. We did some last hour. Let's do more this hour. 609-407-1450. This is...
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Ocean City. EHD. Brigantine.
Mays Landing.
WPG. Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the morning.
Cut the BS and let's just get to the truth.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. It's 18 minutes past the hour. Jump in at 609-407-1450. 609-407-1450 at your pleasure. I want to share, because several listeners are asking, I want to give you as much as I can find on this. Maybe I threw it away. I had a whole piece on this pride flag, because people were wondering, hey, what happened here? Mike Johnson, the speaker, put in the legislation that, and this is the funding legislation, that you can't fly the pride flag, and it went through. I mean, they had no choice. There was no time to do anything about it. In fact, I do have it. So check this out. I will say this is the thing I don't like. I don't like conflation. I don't like it when you pass a spending bill and you put something in it like this. I don't think it should have been in there, but nor should the practice have been in place. So there now is a prohibition, and it was in this $1.2 trillion behemoth of a funding package. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson, and look, he had to get the votes for this thing. You know, Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to do what Matt Gaetz did to Kevin McCarthy. I don't think it's going to happen because it's so bad what's going on right now. I mean, the Republicans that are bailing and they're leaving even before the term is up. By June, the Republicans may have a 1-vote lead. 1 vote. That's, I mean, we're very close to Hakeem Jeffries becoming the Speaker of the House without an election. That would be quite an accomplishment for the Republicans. But that's the problem when the margins are as close as they were. It should have been Republicans with a 3-dozen-vote lead. But unfortunately, the Democrats effectively ran the abortion issue, said that Republicans want to take a woman's right to choose, which is not what they did at all. The Supreme Court ruled that it's a states' rights issue. Ruth Bader Ginsburg knew that. And trust me when I tell you, all the Democrats that lie to you, Chuck Schumer, Biden, the rest, they all know it too. Roe v. Wade was always unconstitutional. It was always a states' rights issue, never a federal issue. And again, don't believe me. Believe RBG, the notorious RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She knew it and said it. I think it's very interesting. Had she lived, she would have voted exactly the way the 6-3 majority did. She would have voted that way because she's on record saying that it's not a federal issue, that it's a states' rights issue. So I think he did this to get the votes to pass the budget, to be honest. But he did it nonetheless. Don't even have to get into the psychology of why he did it. So the pride flag is banned. You cannot, it's the rainbow flag, the LGBTQ equality pride flag. You can't fly it. So President Biden, because he always wants his cake and eat it too, he signs the bill and then says he's going to support legislation which would make it repeal this part of the bill. The law signed by President Biden says that, quote, no U.S. funding can be used to, quote, fly or display a flag over a facility of the United States Department of State other than United States or other government-related flags or flags supporting prisoners of war, missing in action soldiers, hostages, and wrongly imprisoned Americans. So I think it's terrific. They didn't say this by name. It's inference because there were embassies. I'm looking at one. The Moscow, Russia embassy flew the pride flag beneath the American flag. Should have never been done. Russia didn't like that at all, by the way. Not a little bit. So now you can't do it. Mike Pompeo, he ordered that only U.S. flags can fly from embassy flagpoles when he was in. But now you have this horses behind Anthony Blinken. Go if you want to hear about Anthony Blinken. Go to John McCain's speech from the floor when Anthony Blinken was up for confirmation for an assistant Secretary of State position. The fact that this man is the Secretary of State is one of the greatest abominations in American history. He is terrible, and he's a big part of the lack of respect that the world has for America right now. He's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You're on the air.
I'm going to back up both of your stories here.
Okay. I like that. I like corroboration.
You like this one. 2022 at the podium, President Biden said that he will use everything constitutionally to make sure that Donald Trump cannot run for president.
Yeah, yeah. He said it. No doubt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's say he kept his word.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Good.
And for other collaboration is the meetings with Wade and Willis and possibly James to set all this up.
Mm-hmm.
And then going along with the armed bull at Mar-a-Lago, as well as the putting Navarro in leg irons and chains. And when it comes to Clinton or it comes to anything involved with Biden, it's go over and have tea and crumpets.
Oh, yeah. And we barely find out about it ever. I mean, there are people who don't even know that Joe Biden had a special counsel in his life that was, say, handled so professionally.
And to back up John McCain, Tony Blinken, while the withdrawal, because it was a State Department, Defense Department / operation, he was in the Hamptons, shrimp on the Barbie.
Yeah, he's bad. Anthony Blinken. It's Antony, not even Anthony. It's Antony Blinken. A weirdo first name. Yeah, not good. He's just not good.
I never saw a cabinet like this, feckless and reckless.
Well, what Biden did, somebody used the term earlier in the program, I think it was Michael Chait, about checking boxes, but that was checking boxes in a good way. This administration has always and only been about checking boxes. Biden made it that he could not only that he had to pick a woman, but he had to pick an African-American woman. And I have no problem. Condoleezza Rice would be a great VP. It's not about color. It's not about gender. You know me, Dan. I don't care if the person is competent. Great. It doesn't matter. I don't care who we're talking about in all those ways that this administration always tries to divide and conquer. But why would Biden do something like that? I mean, he was so boxed in, he had to actually pick someone who had called him a racist. How about that? How do you like that one?
Unbelievable. And
who would do that? I would never pick somebody that said that about me. They would be disqualified. You're a liar, and I can't even consider you. But Biden picked her. I got to give Jill Biden credit. Jill Biden can't stand Kamala Harris. Joe Biden never wanted her to be the nominee, and I don't care what they publicly say. What I'm saying is true.
And Harry, how about basically the fabulous Mueller move that Jill had to do on Joe as he looked into this pretty blonde girl's eyes, held her by the shoulder, gave her a soft kiss. Here comes Jill, spins him around, right?
Oh yeah, she's like Mr. Miyagi.
And then the Secret Service guys, then Biden starts that thing with the hand up and he's pointing.
Yep.
Well, you're going to the woodshed now, Joe.
Hey, listen, I'll never forget when the Easter Bunny waved his or her hands. I don't know who's under the suit. Waving the hands like up and down, stopping Joe Biden from talking to people in line.
They said that might have been
Easter Bunny.
They said since that would fit, probably Jake Sullivan.
Yeah, what a creep he is.
Harry, this is amazing. What we're seeing is two-tier system of justice.
All the way.
It can't continue, and it has to stop with this confiscation of property. And people have to remember this. The 8th Amendment of excessive fines is backed up by the 14th Amendment that says a state can't do it because it's in contravention of federal law.
Yeah, oh no, he's so covered. He'll get his final victory in one of the appeal courts. I don't know that it'll happen in the first appeal because New York State, for example, is just so utterly corrupt. He might not be able to get anything out of there. But when finally someone that's not corrupt reviews it, it's so obvious. This has never been employed before. And in fact, Dan, hold on a second if you can. If you have some time, I want to further this point, and I have a baseball question for you. I've got to get this break in, though. So you let me know if you can stay by the fact that you'll still be on the switchboard. So here's the story. The New York law that kept Trump from getting a trial, because he would want a trial, and not this judge, Engoron, making the decision, this zany Back to the Future Dr. Emmett Brown judge, goofy. I mean, this guy looks like he needs like a certification test or something to see if he's even sane. He looks mad. I mean, I don't mean angry. I mean like certifiably insane. He's crazy. And his decision is crazy. But the reason that Trump didn't get a trial, a jury trial, or any trial, is because that law has never been used before, and it's so minimus that it's like a nothing thing. So Engoron found Trump guilty without a trial. He just made his decision through the papers, and Trump's not entitled to a trial because of the reason I just explained. But it was never intended that you could then whack somebody with $454 million and then fine them $100 and some $1,000 a day. This is insanity, what's going on. It will not stand. I am 100% certain that it will not stand. The issue is, though, they can do a lot of damage before such time that Trump will be granted relief, although don't be shocked if Trump wins some kind of appeal by the end of today. All right, so we can further that for a moment. And then, Dan, here's the question I want to pose to you. Shohei Ohtani, do you believe that this is only the interpreter, or do you believe that there's more to this? Right now, it's $4.5 million in gambling debts paid by his interpreter. And Major League Baseball initially said there's no investigation of Ohtani, only of the interpreter, which I thought was an absolute cover-up. And, of course, it was untenable. So now Major League Baseball says they are interviewing and including Ohtani himself in the investigation. I want to get your take on it. I'm not ready to accuse anybody of anything, but I just can't believe that an interpreter can do these wire transfers and that it's only about the interpreter. Maybe Ohtani is that loyal, but in another version of the story, it was that the interpreter stole it. Then it seemed to change to a different version. So I said earlier, if you're going to break my arm and tear it off my body, I think Ohtani has something to do with this. But I'm not ready to say that officially. Just something I'm very suspicious about. You know, the first story is if you're going to have a falsehood told, the first story is usually you're incredulous about it. And I was incredulous when I heard what they revealed. It just left me wanting. It seemed very, very suspicious. All right, we'll further all that when we come back. A lot to unpack on the Hurley in the Morning program. I think Sean Hannity believes that the buck stops here, right?
Sean Hannity.
The buck should stop with Joe Biden. These are Joe Biden's policies. They're the people that have been lying about it. Mayorkas has lied about it. Karine Jean-Pierre, Circleback Jen Psaki, the border czar, Vice President Harris. They've all been lying about it. His border's closed. The border's secure. Now they're admitting, it's been a problem for 10 years. We didn't cause it, though, and Republicans only want it for a political issue. Kamala Harris actually made that remark. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Sean Hannity on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
Established, reputable.
Yep.
WPG
That's right.
Talk Radio 95.5.
Proud of that. 37 minutes past the hour. Dan, let's go right to the sports question. Is Shohei Ohtani, is he involved or is it limited only to the interpreter? What does your gut tell you?
Well, he is involved, and it's more serious than even baseball, because you mentioned it. Anytime there's a federal wire, and you being involved in banking years ago, know that there's going to be an investigation over those wires because the betting is illegal in California. So now you have mail fraud as well.
Oh, it's terrible. It's awful. So they very quickly threw it all the shade on the interpreter, which just seemed too much too soon, and baseball jumping in and saying no investigation of Ohtani, that it's all limited to only the interpreter. What arbiter that's looking for the truth would ever shut something down that quick? Now, of course, that was untenable, and they're not going to get away with it, especially because of the way they treated Pete Rose. I mean, they treated him like he was Lucifer. So smothered him, won't let him breathe, won't let him, repent, nothing. So they can't just get away with that. They thought they could, but they can't. I just, if I get just forced to say what I think, I usually am in the telling what I know business. But if you ask me what I think, I don't think it's only limited to the interpreter.
Well, I'm going to have to go with you on that one because and Facebook did a little funny thing on it. They had a picture, and one was a picture of Ohtani with his jersey, name on the back. And, of course, to the right, about 20 feet, they had the guy with the Betts jersey on, Mookie.
Yeah.
So they had many bets.
So, yeah, I just don't know. And plus, if he's not involved, he's a very sloppy businessman. And that has nothing to do with that he doesn't speak English. I mean, you can have business savvy in any language. How could he allow, if it's only the interpreter and the interpreter is a thief, how did the interpreter get $4.5 million? Now, we do know people like Sam Bankman-Fried and who's that other notorious one that stole from so many people, including Hollywood actors and all kinds of people. He got their money, but that's somebody that you trust with your money. That's an that's either a financial advisor or someone that, you would give access like this. Who would give their interpreter, although maybe he just trusted him and let him, have at this money like that. But it just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me.
Who would pay an interpreter $600,000 a year salary?
Well, actually, the team does that, so that's in his contract. It is a crazy. It is a crazy amount of money for that job. That's a great job, $600K a year. But at least that's in the contract, and that's how they set it up. And Ohtani, who asks for $70 million a year, plus a $600,000 a year interpreter, and I'm sure some other things, he got that. But this is Ohtani giving an interpreter, and then for the banks to do these wire transfers, I just know we did them, and we did big ones, but you had to know exactly who you were dealing with, and there were a lot of protocols. This guy did $1 million wire transfers.
And as you know, you check that signature carefully.
Oh, yeah, so if he's signing that it's Ohtani himself, my God, $1 million transfer, that signature, you can't have any questions, or that wire transfer just can't go through until you resolve any outstanding issues. So I'm very suspicious about Ohtani. I think they're going to find a way to pin it all on the interpreter, and maybe that's because that is all there is. I mean, I'm not, I'm open to the truth, but this seems very suspicious right now.
Yeah, the $700 million also is in question. Federal tax law, state tax law. When you get to defer that, that's just childish. There's no way that should happen.
Oh, you don't like that they can defer money?
Absolutely not. Not in this case. $700 million.
See, I don't mind. If you have a contract that's 10 years, $70 million a year, I mean, remember, and he got one of the greatest contracts of all time, Bobby Bonilla. Remember what he did?
Yes.
And that's different, though. He deferred, and he gets $1 million something every year. He's still getting paid for the next several years. There are many players. Mahomes just did it. He is now restructuring. He did it. It's not theoretical. He restructured his deal so that he doesn't get as much now. He'll get more later. I don't have a problem with that deferral at all. It frees up cap money. It helps the team. It's good for the player because they'll have more money later, because you never know what young people could do blowing, that kind of money in a short period of time. I don't mind any of that. But big wire transfers being done by the interpreter, something doesn't sound right about that.
No, it doesn't.
All right, man.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you one more.
Yeah.
18 starts, 1968, 12 complete game shutouts, Bob Gibson.
Wow. Oh, yeah. When men were men.
Take care.
Yep, you too, my friend. Now they're coddled, and they seem to get hurt more. These people sometimes they pitch both ends of a doubleheader. I think there's a use it or lose it type of thing. You baby somebody, and they're more apt to get hurt than if they use the muscle. I think there's something to that. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Harry.
Good morning to you, my friend.
Harry, let me throw a different angle at you on this whole thing.
Yeah.
Do you think this thing could be in the woodwork behind the scenes that they're trying to get out of the long-term contract?
No. I'm going to tell you why. Good. You're always good at that. You're a three-dimensional chess player. They bought Ohtani. The Dodgers bought him knowing about the injury, knowing he's not going to pitch this year, but that he will hit and he will field, and then next year he will start to pitch and be two-way again. I'm going to say no to that, although there's nothing wrong with that statement you made. It's smart. It's possible. I could be wrong. But if this would have been the deal was signed and then the injury, and always remember in these baseball contracts, they're insured, so they're not going to lose. If Ohtani never played, they're covered. So no, I'm going to say no to your proffer.
Well, let's see what happens long term, Harry, because I think they took another look at this, and they're saying that 10 years down the road, this is a bad deal.
Well, I thought it was a bad deal, but they went in eyes wide open. There's nothing they know now that they didn't know then.
Oh, let's wait and see. Thanks, Harry.
All right, my friend. See you now. Final break. We'll be right back if you want to jump in. 609-407-1450, an open phone line. It's 45 minutes past the hour. This is
Hurley in the morning.
They really do separate fact from fiction.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. WPGG Atlantic City. WENJ HD3 Millville. A Town Square media station.
Hello, America. It's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you don't have Consumer Cellular yet, now is the perfect time to switch and save. For a limited time, new customers can get wireless service for as low as $15 a month for your first year. Yep, the same exact nationwide coverage as the leading carriers for $15 a month for an entire year. What are you waiting for? Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit ConsumerCellular.com and use code Radio15.
See ConsumerCellular.com/firstyear15 for promotional details.
Hey, it's Jesse Kelly. Are you still on the fence about owning gold? It's time to pull the trigger with the Oxford Gold Group and buy gold and silver. Nobody can predict the future, but we can't put our head in the sand either. The Oxford Gold Group are the pros. They make owning gold and silver simple and easy to understand. Call Oxford Gold Group right now and you may qualify for up to $10,000 in free precious metals. Call 833-995-GOLD. That's 833-995-GOLD.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Makes me think about things a little bit differently.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
All right, full disclosure, in that 4-minute break, I visited with my consigliere, Chelsea, and she raised a really good point that I want to put out onto the floor. It's not completely unlike what I said in my 6 o'clock monologue when I said, remember now, if Shohei Ohtani gave his interpreter this level of authority, that could be perfectly normal, what was going on. Now, if the guy was stealing from him, that would be because he was given the trust, given the authority. Remember, if we knew the answer to certain things, and perhaps maybe the reason why, and Chelsea and I talked about this during the break, maybe the reason why they were able to come out immediately and say the investigation, and I'm saying Major League Baseball, is centered on the interpreter and not Ohtani, is because they did their due diligence. Like the first time they came out and said something wasn't like, hey, we just learned something 5 seconds ago and we already cleared Ohtani and it's all on the interpreter. They've done a lot on this. So what Chelsea said to me, and it completely changes a lot of my calculus on this, is this. A lot of the interpreters, because obviously you're doing banking in America, and if it's a Japanese player or a player from wherever, Dominican Republic, it could be from anywhere, that doesn't speak English, then that interpreter, you know, when Dan was bringing up, hey, $600,000 for an interpreter, that's good work if you can find it, right? Yeah, but maybe the person is a lot more than just an interpreter. Maybe the person is actually the financial advisor. The person is the person that is given authority. I can tell you this as a former banker. If you give someone permission to be a signer on your account, and maybe this is an account that I'm sure he doesn't put all of his money in it, but maybe he has $5 million in it or whatever he has in it, and that this person has the authority to do these transactions. Then guess what? Then Ohtani is completely innocent, and his interpreter / business person, whatever this person in the job description has, get what I'm saying? Did all these things, and then the truth will bear that out. You can cover some things up, but in financial transactions, I believe the truth will be self-evident here. We will know if Ohtani is involved. Now, you understand, there are conspiracy types that the truth is not enough. They will say, Ohtani got treated one way, Pete Rose got treated another way. Pete Rose is going to be signing baseball starting next week that say, I wish I had an interpreter. I mean, so it's all going to happen. Guaranteed. It's all going to happen. People are going to say, well, Pete Rose, if he had an interpreter, he could have played the interpreter card. But it may turn out to be perfectly legit. Not the interpreter, but Ohtani. It could very well be that he didn't have anything to do with this. Now, what do I think is going to happen today? Somebody texted, what do you think is going to happen? And I'm going to listen. It won't be that interpreter, though, interpreting it, I'm sure. Ohtani will speak. Then an interpreter will speak English. And we have to really make sure that we get an absolute, this is very intricate stuff. Denial and what his interpreter had the authority to do, these wire transfers and all these things. So the interpreter has to be immaculate, because you don't want to set something up that now the interpreter says something and then it's not right, and then they have to correct that on top of the first story, changing into a second story, and so on and so forth. Then it starts to look like something's wrong and that there's a cover-up. But if we find out that Ohtani gave this guy the ability to do certain transactions for him, then I think you'll be able to have single source accountability, that it potentially may be only the interpreter and not the player. Doesn't have to be. To be fair, it doesn't have to be that Ohtani, knew or should have known or is involved, and that this guy was making bet. A lot of stories are going to go around that this guy's taking the fall. He was making bets for Ohtani, they'll say. And there's a bad commingling here, because where would this money go? How do they tender? Some of this was illegal betting, not legal type online betting. So these wire transfers, paying gambling debts, illegal gambling debts, I think it's going to turn out to be. That's all going to wind up being a very big problem for a lot of the reasons that guest listener Dan was just talking about. In terms of federal laws, if you're doing a wire transfer in advance of, committing a crime, because obviously paying off an illegal gambling debt is a crime. And it also begs the question, why didn't he place legal wagers? There's so many ways you could put action down that would be perfectly legal. So I'm gonna keep my, I said it earlier and I'll say it again now, I'm gonna keep my powder dry. I said this earlier, I want Ohtani to be innocent here. I think he's great for the game. He is you got to admit, even if you don't want to, he's the face of baseball, as Trout was for about a decade. Ohtani, because he is a two-way phenom, he is the face of baseball. Some say Aaron Judge, but even though I'm a Yankees fan, I would say Ohtani over Aaron Judge. And I will say, and it's not a bias, it's not an East Coast, West Coast type thing, I wish some of these players like Trout and Ohtani had been on the East Coast. I think when you're on the left coast, you just don't, you can have a great and storied career. Trout has had one and is still in the midst of it. And he's a Hall of Famer for sure. But I would love to see some of these people on the East Coast. I think some of their career does get lost, pun intended, in translation. So Shohei Ohtani plans to speak to the media today. We'll let you know tomorrow what we think of it. You'll let us know what you think. And this will be the first time that he has spoken since the illegal gambling and theft allegations involving his interpreter. Now, in pursuit of the truth here, there is reporting that says that it's an illegal gambling and theft allegation involving Ohtani and his interpreter. Now, I would say right now we should be fair and say Ohtani's involvement at this time is that it's his money, and that his money appears to have been stolen by this guy, Mizuhara. I knew of his interpreter, didn't ever bother to know his name until this issue of the last several days. The manager, Dave Roberts, says, quote, it's the right thing to do, meaning Ohtani speaking about it. Quote, I'm happy he's going to speak and speak to what he knows and give his thoughts on the whole situation. I think it will give us all a little bit more clarity. The Major League Baseball is saying that Ohtani is the victim of, quote, a massive theft. Major League Baseball has opened an investigation of the matter. The Internal Revenue Service has confirmed that Mizuhara and Matthew Boyer, the alleged illegal bookmaker in Orange County, California, are under criminal investigation. You don't often hear that so lickety-split, but that's out there as well. And again, as Chelsea told me during the last break, and it makes a lot of sense, they've done a lot of investigating on this. They're not at the beginning. They didn't just hear about this and they're saying the first few things. They have investigated it. Ohtani was set to bat second as the designated hitter at Dodger Stadium. He's also expected to play in Anaheim today and tomorrow. And he's the reigning two-time AL MVP. And he signed a record $700 million 10-year contract with the Dodgers back in December. In the back of my mind, I listened very intently to guest listener Eric, who spoke out and wondered, is this the Dodgers' way of wanting to dump this contract? I don't think so. There was full disclosure. Imaging was done. They know the exact injury and what may need to be done, whether it's a Tommy John type surgery one day or that it can heal just with rehab and rest, that he can't pitch, but that he can hit and can play the field. So I don't think it's the Dodgers wanting to get rid of his contract, because both eyes wide open, they signed the 10-year, $700 million contract. So I just don't see any way that there's a buyer's remorse at this time. I think this issue is what it is. Ohtani either is involved or not involved. The interpreter clearly appears to be involved. And it just is a matter of whether it will be isolated to only this Mizuhara, or does Ohtani get brought into it? Now, you can imagine, I don't know, but this Mizuhara is in a lot of trouble. And will he be ratting on Ohtani, even making stuff up? Oh, no, this isn't just me. I was placing these bets, for Shohei Ohtani. I mean, you should keep open to any possibility here. So, interesting. Ohtani has a double locker in the Dodgers clubhouse located between the shower room and fellow Japanese pitcher Yamamoto, who is slated to make his second start of the season. Have you seen that before? I have seen it. If you are the absolute stud superstar, you get two lockers. They make a double locker. The locker that everybody else has is big enough to have, your stuff. But, if you're a superstar, you get the better location and you get a double locker and the whole deal. Ohtani's got that. What remains to be seen is, will he avoid a Pete Rose problem? The Major League Baseball gambling policy is posted in every single Major League Baseball clubhouse, and betting on baseball, legally or not, is punishable with a 1-year ban from the sport. The penalty for betting on other sports illegally is at the commissioner's discretion. Sports gambling is illegal in California. It is legal in 38 states and in the District of Columbia, and obviously different jurisdictions have different levels of legality, but in at least that many, the majority of states, only 12, is it illegal completely. Quote, the mood in the room is get ready for baseball because I don't hear a lot of conversations and speculation, Roberts said. That's why I think tomorrow is going to be good for everyone. I got to tell you, that's a great answer from the manager, but it's not credible. This will be an enormous distraction. And this much I can't say I know, but I feel it. Even if Ohtani is exonerated. See, if I look at the evidence and he's just not involved, it's just the way I am. I don't hold that against someone. But there will be people that will say they treated him differently than Pete Rose, that he had to be involved, he had to know, he put it all in his interpreter, and he's the guy that's doing the wire transfers for both of them. Now, I'm going to believe the evidence. That's how I'm going to resolve this. But I will say, as of right now, I think I tip more towards Ohtani is going to be found to not be involved in this. But I have to say I wouldn't be shocked at all. Only because you never know. Gambling is an addiction that is very insidious. Not any different, really, than drugs or any type of other addiction, sex addiction, spending addiction. You know, there are people that they get only a certain level of just, I don't know exactly what to call it, lift, stimulation. They want it and they need it. So I wouldn't be shocked, but I'm open to the fact because you can be an innocent victim. You trust someone that you're paying or the team is paying $600,000 a year to take care of certain responsibilities, and then you find out that they do something like this. I mean, it's very possible. And I'm utterly confident Ohtani is going to say, I don't gamble. And this is, I am a victim. I am the one that had $4.5 million stolen from me. These are not my gambling debts. I think you're going to get all of that. And we'll see how you interpret it all when we come back tomorrow. Brian Kilmeade is here. Look forward to seeing you on the digital platform of WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Here is Brian Kilmeade. It's the Brian Kilmeade Show.